Oh, someone has done it. See, actually, that looks class.
Boggin?
I expect Lisa any minute. Lisa looks hot tonight.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa.
About I don't know what they talk about.
I'm leaving.
It's just a cinematic, version of someone's maladaptive daydreaming.
You're daddy.
I always call you my son.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Sorry I Don't podcast season finale. My name's Claude. I'm here with Abby and Swanny, and today we're going to be reviewing The Room.
Yeah, so actually, this is probably a good time to explain where Sorry I Don't came from. Yeah. I realise we've got through 10 episodes nearly, and we've not actually explained why we're called the Sorry I Don't podcast, because the name has nothing to do with films.
Well, it came from the room.
Well, yeah, it did.
No, it came from our room.
It came from, yeah, exactly. But no, we were part of a larger group of friends, and we all kind of had individual friendships and nights out with each other and things like that, but we'd never really kind of hung out as a three. And then I think one night you were coming around to mine and Swanny showed up, some random thing, but the kind of nice thing about it was it actually happened right before the COVID lockdown. And if we hadn't had that night, at the start of March, we probably would never have become friends the way that we have.
We would be sitting here.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. And we're just watching something on TV. We're always watching stupid clips on YouTube and that kind of thing. And Swanny just responded to something, grabbed the controller, paused it, and she went, "Sorry, I don't." And it just sounded like there was meant to be more of a thought. There was going to be a continuation of that, but it just kind of stopped in its tracks. And it sort of just became our phrase for everything in life that we thought was obscene or ridiculous or that we disagreed with, or and it means everything and nothing at the same time. And then it became our group chat name, which has never changed from that night. It's 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And kind of weird fun fact, but that night when we recorded our first episode, Twilight, at the start or the end of February, that was literally 3 years.
Anniversary.
Yeah, it was the anniversary.
The Sorry I Don't anniversary.
Yeah, so I said start in March earlier, and it was the very, very end of February.
That's very cute.
But yeah, it's wild, isn't it? Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I just remember we were just watching so many ridiculous videos, and it was the sheer overwhelming nature of this is ridiculous, this is so bad, this is so great. What is this? How can this exist? Sorry, I don't. And then it just spoke for itself.
Yeah.
And it was just I still remember pissing myself laughing at that.
It was one of those things you just literally no one could speak for a few minutes afterwards, because it was this massive culmination, explosion with this phrase. And then also it kind of has become the mission statement for the sort of films we want to watch on this podcast, because it's the films that you go, sorry,
ridiculous
I don't. Yeah, ridiculous and amazing.
Obviously, because of lockdown, we all ended up watching a lot more things.
Yeah.
And then obviously, TikTok really kicks off then as well, so everyone's just watching loads of cringe ridiculous things, and then I was just sorry I don't, so perfect for something. And then we came up with a podcast. We're okay, this could be fun. Twilight was fun. We're chatting shit about Twilight and having a laugh, and it was really funny. And then we're right, let's do a podcast, let's try that out. What will the name be? And then I don't even know who said it. It's kind of
it was just the obvious thing. It's our group chat name.
Why don't we just call it Sorry I Don't?
It's what we say all the time. That's what it's it could end in anything. I think that's what's so great about it, is that the lack of completion of that sentence is what's so great about it.
Yeah,
because
everything and nothing.
Sorry, I don't understand. Sorry, I don't like
care.
it.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't care if you don't like it, but I fucking love it.
Titanic.
And then, and then that kind of has changed to then be sorry, I do.
Sorry, I do.
Sorry, I spat.
Sorry, I hated it.
So, yeah, we are all sorry I don't. We all have our own sorry I don't meaning. And I think that's what's so beautiful about it.
You can take it however way you want. And you can make your own meaning too.
I think the whole point of sorry I don't is that it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, basically. And with that brings us beautifully to
our final film. And the one of this season that I've been looking forward to the most. This is The Room, and this janky, weird as hell DVD with this strange photograph. Now, hopefully you have seen The Room. Anyone listening, if you've not seen The Room, well,
Get it watched.
come back now, or just listen, because it's a wild, wild time. I'm going to ask you guys first, what was your sort of response to the, or had you heard about The Room before you watched it?
Yeah, I watched it probably when I was like 14, 13 with my pals. I think it's evolved for me over time, because when I was like 14, I was obviously like, this is silly, and we were just cutting about the playground, quoting bits of The Room and stuff like that. And now that I'm older, it's just got a different kind of strange nuance to it.
Yeah.
It gets more and more odd the older you get, weirdly. Even when you're a kid and you're like, funny, silly man. And then you grow up and you're like, funny, silly man.
And then,
what's he doing?
Yeah, it just gets weirder and weirder. But that's what the reason I'm asking is because obviously it's got this strange cult following, similar to like the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
And yeah, like stuff like Plan 9 from Outer Space, which are like older B movies that were really bad apparently, which I need to watch, and we'll see. But this was like a very recent version of this, and unlike Rocky Horror, which is deliberately kind of campy, this wasn't meant to be as funny as it was, we don't think, or as insane as it is.
This is like, so that was usually like how was The Room on your radar or not? I'm not gonna lie, like for a long, long time, up until like, I don't know at what point I learned of The Room as like this version, but I kept thinking people were talking about Room, that really horrific film about the boy that was kidnapped.
Oh, yeah.
So I was just like, that film must have been really poorly made if people are that comfortable making fun of it like this. And then obviously, and also a lot of people had mentioned, I was like, oh yeah, we're doing like The Room on the podcast. They're like, what? Is that okay? Like, you guys make fun of films? I'm like, not that one. So just for clarification, but yeah, I last night so this is my first viewing of The Room, I really, because I kept saying to you, like, what's it about? And they're like, oh, I couldn't even possibly begin to tell you. And I think you were like, it's really about a guy and his relationship. And I honestly never in my wildest dreams expected it to be a human drama. Like, because I had heard it mentioned in the same sentence as like Rocky Horror Picture Show and all these kind of other like ridiculous B movies. I thought we were going to go across like time and space. I thought The Room was going to like contain like universe, multitudes, different timelines.
Nah,
like,
man.
I really
It does.
Well, it does.
Kind of does.
But I thought like that's what it was going to be about. Like I thought like, and I honestly like
It was
nothing
going to
could
be
have
like
prepared
mystical
me.
in some kind of way.
Nothing could have prepared me
No.
for what I saw.
No.
But also something very much could have.
Yeah,
in a way that
it's-
like I don't know. I was expecting it to be insane in a very different way to the way in which it was
it's
insane.
familiar like a dream. Like you feel like you've had it already when you see it. It's so strange. Right, so I just wanted to get your perception, because obviously The Room, released in 2003, written, directed, produced by and starring Tommy Wiseau. Now, Tommy Wiseau is a man of myth. No one knows exactly where he's from. No one knows exactly his age. No one knows exactly how much money he made or makes. But he also, we do know that he funded The Room. We do know that he lived in San Francisco and possibly had ties to real estate, had a jeans business, and against all odds, sheer determination and willpower, wrote this movie and made it. So it started off, did you know what it started off as?
No.
It started off life as a play, which he then wrote into a book, which was 540 pages long
What? Does that exist?
and not been released.
Oh,
I'd love
I want
that.
to read that.
Yeah, like that sounds wild. The play sounds cool as well.
The play sounds like it makes the most sense out of
Yeah.
all the mediums. You know, the non-existent
Even
play.
the film.
Yeah, aye.
You can see how this started as a play.
Yeah, you can totally
Easily.
see that.
Because, well, the whole origin of how it comes about, because we're also talking a lot about Tommy Wiseau, but also a huge part of this getting made was one of the producers, line producer, then upgraded later on to leading man or villain, whatever the hell he is, Greg Sestero, who plays Mark in the film. Now, it's interesting that we're talking about it being a play because Greg Sestero met Tommy Wiseau at an acting class, watching him act on stage, and Greg talked, because in his book he wrote a book about the making of this film called The Disaster Artist, which was made into a film. But he talks about he was very nervous, very shy, trying to get out of his shell. He was more of a model and was trying to get more confident as an actor. Greg Sestero was, and he came to this acting workshop and saw Tommy Wiseau giving the most unwieldy, unfiltered, kind of bad, but really going for it, insane take on A Streetcar Named Desire, Tennessee Williams. And I think when you know that as an origin, and he was just like, I'm on board. This guy is wild. I don't know where he's from. He says he's from New Orleans, but he's definitely not from New Orleans. And he has this whole fable around him. And he was like, I don't care. I need to get in. I need to know more about this guy. So they just struck up a friendship, very similar to what we see of their friendship in the film.
Yeah. I did say to you last night, I think maybe after you left, that like, you know that, I can't remember the name of the Netflix series, but you know Anna Delvey, the heiress girl who wasn't actually an heiress.
Yeah.
That is like Tommy Wiseau's giving me that.
Yeah.
Like, where are they really from?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have money? Do they not have money? Are they just like a massive con artist who makes like stories so unbelievable that they kind of have to be believable? Like, honestly, like weird similarities between those two characters.
Yeah.
Who are people.
There
in real life.
definitely are. Because this is the thing, when you read the book as well and like talk with Greg Sestero and Tommy Wiseau, you get this whole sense of a lot of people in the cast thought it was a money laundering scheme. They're like, oh, this is clearly ties to gangsters and stuff. I mean, me and Tommy Wiseau, you could be forgiven for thinking, okay, where could that lead? He's so mysterious and like fish out of water sort of vibe that it could lead you anywhere. But Greg was very, very insistent that nah, he just really wanted to make a movie, man. He made money somehow, really wanted to make a movie. It's pretty well. So, for clarification, I've been a fan of The Room for a long time. I saw it years and years ago, I think probably just before uni, so I was maybe a little bit older. Saw it, loved it, group of friends, everyone drinking, and that's when you learn all the quotes. You learn it's like Rocky Horror Picture Show, people shout at the screen, they throw spoons at certain points because inexplicably there are spoons in picture frames because they didn't have a good enough set design budget and everything was last minute at points somehow on this self-funded film. And so you learn all that. And then I've seen it live like I think 3 or 4 times. I've seen it in Philadelphia, I've seen it in Edinburgh.
Sorry, live?
Yeah, well, you go to...
Right. I was like, you saw the play?
No, not the play. No, went to the live screening, but it feels live because people show up in tuxies, they're playing fucking football with each other. They're
obsessed with
spoons.
that.
People come with their dogs. The dogs can come in, they'll bring a dog. Like if they've got a dog like the dog in the film, which we'll fucking get to. They bring all these people on. And it's just quoted, all the songs are sang, etc., etc. So, having seen that loads of times, Philadelphia, Edinburgh, London, maybe, and somewhere else, and Stirling. I also saw it in Stirling there, of course, like at university. I've even met Tommy Wiseau and
Greg Sestero.
Met them in Edinburgh.
I was just saying to Abby because she was showing me those photos that you sent to the group chat of you with both Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero, and I thought. Every time you showed me that picture, I thought that Greg was one of your pals. I didn't realise it was him.
Yeah, man, he's just hanging out. He's wearing a Drive jacket, with the scorpion on the back from the movie Drive. He was great. He was just so chill. And Tommy was just like in his...
Traumatised.
It was in a shirt and waistcoat, jeans and chains. And it was so funny. I was there with my girl. It was on Valentine's Day 9 years ago. I saw The Room and met Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero. My girlfriend at the time... We both went up and we were like, oh my God, hey. And we were getting a photo, as you do. And she stood next to Greg. I stood next to Tommy. And then Tommy was very quick to be like, no, she'll stand next to me. And then, so that photo there's a photo you can see of me.
You're being buoyed by Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah,
you look so buoyed in that photo.
Well, I was just like, what happened? This is really, really, really funny. So I was like, yeah, man, that's cool. And
what an honour to be buoyed by Tommy Wiseau.
It was a genuine honour. I knew that's when the word had to be invented that day. From that trauma. But it's very, very funny. And he took my girlfriend and stood next to her, and then Greg just like shrugged his shoulders and stood next to me. I was like, all right, man. It was very, 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 very funny. And I've been a huge fan ever since. And that's when I first ever saw the Blu-ray. It was on sale there. They were selling it, right? Of course they were, right?
I'm not getting the history of you buying the
No.
Blu-ray.
Well, basically, I didn't get it then. I couldn't find it online for ages. So eventually I did get
still
it.
going?
Oh yeah, you are. I'm very proud of this. But basically, right, this film
Oh, fuck.
is...
Watch him leave it in the studio tonight.
Stop it. Stop predicting correctly what will happen. No, it was a wild time, and every time I watch it, I get something new from it. And now I've seen it. I was saying this to you guys yesterday. I think I've seen this film so many times because I keep showing it to people, and I have it, and I can just watch it. I think I've seen it as many times as like a childhood film that you just
Lord of the Rings,
like Lord of the Rings, or maybe not quite as much. Well, Lord of the Rings is pretty long, so yeah. Harry Potter, definitely. Just things that you've watched over the years because of nostalgia. In a shorter period of time, I've watched this film so fucking much. And then I give it a little break, and then I come back to it, and it still bemuses me. And I've read the book as well. I've not seen The Disaster Artist because I know the film so well, so seeing James Franco doing the performance is a bit like very uncanny valley for something that's already very uncanny. So I was like, maybe not. And what's the word for it? I forgot what I was saying.
It's okay, man.
Pause. I was building up to a point. Tommy Wiseau. La di da. No. That's very funny. What the fuck was I saying?
Shall we get into the plot?
No, but there was a point to this. We should get into the plot, but there was a point to this.
Uh-huh.
What was I saying? Remind me what I was just exactly
The
saying.
Blu-ray. You bought the Blu-ray at the screening.
No, but what was I saying? The last thing I was just literally saying.
You didn't watch the Disaster Artist because it was too Uncanny Valley.
Yes, right. So, as I was saying, I hadn't seen The Disaster Artist, but I'd read the book. And Greg puts it perfectly. Like, everything is kind of so offbeat with this, but like unintentionally offbeat. Like, every rule, this is not how you make a film, okay, in so many ways. Like, acting, directing, writing. Like, it's so far from the conventions that we're used to seeing, but it's so earnest in how it does that he writes, and I think he's so correct that it's the most casually surreal film you'll ever see. So I think that's worth noting as we jump into this plot.
Yeah. Just before we do, a little tidbit from our viewing last night. We watched the some interviews with
Oh my God.
Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero after we finished the film. And I was laughing about the kind of relationship between the two of them and how really meeting Tommy Wiseau had kind of weirdly altered the course of Greg Sestero's life. And I turned to the room and went, imagine just meeting like a mental arsehole like that, and then that's the rest of your life. That's like the theme of it. And Swanny just goes and I was like, oh my God, I am the Greg Sestero to your Tommy Wiseau. That is
Boying.
a lot to sit with.
Especially if you read the book.
At least Greg Sestero's the hotter one.
Well,
I'll hold on to that.
hold on to that. No, Greg is... It's interesting that he started off as this line producer because he's equally as important to the actual continuation of the film as Tommy was. So if that's what we've got going on for any creative project, okay, man.
I'll just be running about trying to explain your decisions behind you.
Just like Greg. So, as I said, we're now beginning the film. It was rewritten from this novel over a tense 9 months. Apparently, this is what Greg says. Tommy kind of disappeared for 9 months and would phone him up periodically and like get really sad on the phone and be really like depressed. I would basically say, I'm trying to write something, I'm trying to do something, I'm trying to work something out. And Greg was like, okay, man, sounds good. And then he shows back up with this movie. And again, I can see the writing on the wall. I can feel us having already maybe had this conversation, which is very funny. But anyway, showed up, and this is the film that they made. So we start with the musical opening, and do you know how Star Wars or like Lord of the Rings or James Bond is in people's minds for music openings? Like, just make them feel warm and fuzzy inside.
Yes.
Like, do you have any other ones like that?
The Goonies.
The Goonies.
Honestly, the Lost Boys.
Lost Boys, yeah, good point.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Right, Twilight, yeah. Films that just Moulin Rouge, yeah. Films that you just hear and it just gives you that warm fuzzy feeling. Because I've watched this film so much, and it's gone wildly from that's one of the worst things I've ever seen to this is one of the best things I can ever experience. That music gives me such this fuzzy feeling, and I just smile, and I'm just so pleased, and I'm smiling just thinking about it.
It's like kind of light piano music that sounds like it should be in the battle soundtrack of a Kingdom Hearts world.
Yes,
or a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, or The Sims. But like, I just love that it does that to me now. Like these other things that I had like 20 to 30 years to like ingrain into my soul. This is done in like 10, 11. But yes, we open with big opening shot of the Golden Gate Bridge. And in that interview we were talking about yesterday, Tommy was asked by himself in the interview, because of course he recorded the interviews for his Blu-ray himself. He asked himself, what's the significance of the Golden Gate Bridge, apart from, obviously it's the setting. And he gave a very, very complicated answer. So I'm going to give you it in a very simple way. It's just the bridge between people. That's what it is. And that's what this film is going to try and tackle as we zoom in. So some key things from this. We're just seeing loads of shots of San Francisco. We're just setting up. And it feels like it's B-roll. Like, hey, let's get some B-roll, some extra footage. Just go out and shoot some footage of San Francisco that we'll insert at points. Until you see Tommy Wiseau is actually sitting on the train or the tram going through. So, oh no, he actually went and filmed all this. We get the music. And next coming up, line producer Greg Sestero, important. Written, directed, produced and starring Tommy Wiseau. And editors Eric Galkut Chase, who... he must have had a fucking fun time. And he was also getting interviewed when we watched yesterday. And he seems to have this little, I didn't expect it to be good. I tried to make fun with it though. And I think he's responsible for more than he's given credit for. And of course, the music by, I don't know how you pronounce her name, Mladen Milijevic? That's Milijevic. And of course, also out of focus camera shots. So these are all things that are all getting recurred. These are going to be important things as we go through. And we immediately come in to the room with a "Hi, babe." Opening line, "Hi, babe." Immediately, it's odd, it's unsettling, and you're just like, right, here we go. And it's the outfits. He is wearing an oversized suit, like an unironed shirt.
I'm going to make a ridiculous comparison here.
Go for it.
He reminded me of Zac Efron in 17 again after he climbs out the river.
Yes.
And he's still dressed in Matthew Perry's suit. That's what this man's dressed
so
like.
spot on.
That might be, like, do you know when Abby says the thing we'll talk about, and you said yesterday about it? Mm-hmm. Abby made a comparison about the room yesterday that's so spot on. That one there that you just made about Tommy Wiseau's outfit is spot on. And he chose that outfit himself. The wardrobe gave him a different outfit, but apparently he just went in and went, nah, I'm wearing this. And just came with a suit and just, like, he wears it in so many scenes, like, with different, like, sometimes it's a tank top underneath, sometimes it's a shirt underneath, sometimes it's just the jacket. It's very, very weird.
He's a banker, I guess. Maybe that's what he's trying to get across. Like, bankers wear suits. But why doesn't he wear one that fits him?
Yeah. So anyway, he shows up and immediately odd and unsettling. And the outfits are weird. The set is very sparse. The lighting's a bit off. The camera's a bit shaky. The dialogue is dubbed.
All of it.
All of basically about 80 to 90% of Tommy's dialogue. He went and redubbed. Remember, he wrote this.
But it's not like he dubbed it as in like, oh, I want to say that line different. He was just saying different lines.
Yeah, sometimes different lines, and then sometimes the facial expressions don't match to the emotion of the line.
Yeah.
And sometimes he also will say a line in between two shots that he clearly wouldn't really have said. And it's so odd. It's so unsettling, so uncanny. That is the best way to,
I think it's important to point out as well that like pretty much everybody who was a part of the production there said that basically if he, not in a kind of tyrant-y way, but he was like, this is how this is going to go down, and this is exactly how I want things to go, and he wasn't going to take any like, oh, what if we do it like this? It's not how the kind of vibe of the set worked, you know. So that's why it's all so odd, because you see him and you're like, oh, okay.
And not only was he exacting about what the dialogue should be, he also kept forgetting what the dialogue was. So I think in the disaster artist you see that he does have this maniacal control, or wanting to control the set and production. But Greg's like, yeah, he did, but he would often really forget what was going on, so we could slip little things in. Unless you brought it up beforehand, you could maybe get something in, which is very, very fun, and I can definitely see happening. But right, this first scene, we're in presumably the titular room. I think it is the room.
Yeah. Because I assume that the room is like the downstairs room.
Yeah, it can't be the bed. Well, maybe is it the bed?
Well, as Tommy would
Then
explain
so
in
much
his
happens
interview.
in the bedroom that I'm like,
It could be the room.
Well, I mean, I guess if you look at the bedroom, it is an open plan kind of studio.
are we going with it's all one room because of a technicality that it's mezzanine?
Yes. Of course, Abby. It's all one room. And that's what we all are. We're all just in one room. As Tommy said.
Is San Francisco the room?
Yes, San Francisco, the world is the room. As Tommy said, what is it? Your bedroom is the room, the kitchen is the room, a forest is the room. So when
Anything could be the
he
room.
said that in the interview, and that gives me free leeway to say that
Anything's
yes,
the
anything's the room. And but in this particular the room, we also meet our female lead, Lisa. And Lisa is immediately presented as, oh, hey, you're back from work. And he has brought her a dress. He's brought her a gift of a red dress. It's not the nicest of red dresses, but they make it out to be a really nice red dress, but it's okay. What would we say about the fashion choice of the red dress?
It's no Satine's dress, is it?
It's no Satine's dress, is it?
Also, like someone was like, "What's symbolic? A red dress."
Someone.
Tommy Wiseau. I just feel like, honestly, I think what I enjoy the most about this film is like, it feels like one man's really earnest attempt to do like Arthur Miller.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it was described.
like the classic amount of water you dropped.
It's my phone.
Swanny's. Right, you good?
There you go.
But it's like classic man works so hard for his promotion, vaguely
Yeah.
referred to throughout, and is foiled by like dramas, tries to take in this young guy as well, like so many things. It's like this feels like it feels like an AI tried to do an Arthur Miller play.
Oh my God, someone, I think it was getting sold as with the same. It was something like the same passion as Tennessee Williams. That's what they were. That's what they were trying to get with.
My God.
Yeah. So I think those Arthur Miller, Tennessee Williams comparisons.
Do you know?
Right.
It is quite passionate.
It's almost like, do you know what it's like?
It is arguably one of the most passionate projects to ever exist.
And it's so
The fact it even came to fruition shows that passion came through.
I know. And it's like, and yet some of it's so wooden and so dispassionless. And I love it. Oh, sorry, I'm actually crying.
I know.
No.
Why are you crying?
Because it's so ridiculous and it just tickles. If anything ever tickled my fancy, that's what tickled
Sorry,
my
I
fancy.
don't.
Yeah, I said it and was like,
I
oh.
thought it was the lights, man. I didn't think you were actually greeting over the passion of the room.
The passion of the room. I was about to say, wait, what? I'm on a different podcast. Are we talking about Passion of the Christ? No.
Sorry, I don't.
Right. Sorry, I do not, but I do. Aye. So,
The red dress.
yeah, red dress, symbolic, very clearly, as we said, a very passionate project, and we're getting fully into it. So, a few things I've written down from this first scene. This film is a true gift if you have subtitles. See if you can put subtitles on this. Absolute fucking, because they got everything written down. All the little asides as they go off screen and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. And that's what happens here. So Tommy gives her the dress. He goes, will you try it on? She goes, yeah, of course. He's like, ha, ha, ha. We get his weird laugh. His weird laugh is introduced here. She then goes and then comes in the stairs and we get our first overdubbed line cut out of nowhere oh wow, you look so sexy, Lisa. I'm not going to quote all of them, but there's so many. And of course we get...
It's the delivery though that's important about it, not the actual lines, because hey babe and you look so sexy could be fine, but it's like, wow, you look so sexy, Lisa.
Oh, hi, Danny.
That's how he's speaking to somebody he's about to fuck.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It is. It's amazing. And just as they're kind of getting a bit close, suddenly the door opens and an ominous figure just skulks in, looking dead ahead, no emotions. And then he goes, oh, hey guys, didn't expect to see you here. He just walked into the living room.
Into their house.
Into their house. And this is where we meet Denny. And as I said, emotionally devoid. What was he
Could
up
be
to?
wearing a baseball cap with a propeller on it.
Yeah.
Like, literally, like, he just is so strange. Like, this
35-year-old cast as an 18-year-old.
Should have a large lollipop.
yeah.
And a wee set of
And,
bubbles.
like, striped tights.
No, honestly, right, this film is like the ultimate implied narrative in terms of what it presents to us and also when you actually look at the film itself and think about its making of. But in this scene, what the hell was Denny up to when he first comes in?
Also, just
I
for
wanna hear your
context,
thoughts.
just for context,
Yeah.
right? For anyone listening, Denny is played by a 30-year-old man, right? I looked it up. He's got a receding hairline. The guy is clearly 30, right? And he comes in and he's like, oh gosh darn you guys, oh, what are you up to? And like acting like that's like, well, I was going to say acting like it's mom and dad, but not really, because he's like, keeps trying to fuck Lisa
Oh, yeah,
throughout
we'll
the
get to
film.
that, yeah.
And like, but he sees Tommy as his father figure, but he's like a 30-year-old guy,
Yeah,
but he's
and
cutting about, like you say, like propeller cap, fucking bubbles, and
Yeah, but he's meant to be 18.
He could be called
The script-
Bubbles, to be fair.
He could be called Bubbles. The
Wee Bubbles.
Wee Bubbles. The script says that he's 18, right? But he
Yeah.
acts like he's 15 and looks like he's 30.
Yeah,
So it's very strange.
because he comes in and you're not entirely sure the dynamic. He just kind of comes in and he's like, "Oh, hi guys, didn't expect to see you here," and then eventually.
Like, what was he expecting? Like, that's what I want
And
to know.
eventually Lisa's like, "Oh, you better go do your homework." And you're like, "Homework? This man's in his 30s. What are you talking about?"
Who is he? They don't this
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
get
like,
explained at
I'm
this
sitting
point.
there like, we actually went back and watched the scene again after you guys had left, because I was like, I need to experience that again in the context of knowing that he is like their child ward. Because that first scene, it's like, he just comes in and tries to shag them. And it's
Aye.
like, what? I don't, who is this man? Is he their neighbour? And also he entered, you said, you put it perfectly last night, like he's in a 90s sitcom.
Yeah.
It's like as if there should be a laugh track when he comes in. And it's just so bizarre. And like, no one explained it to me at the time.
Can you explain, Cammy? Can you explain?
Cammy's just put a cringe meme on the screen.
That's Danny.
Oh.
We're very mean.
I thought you were trying to.
I thought it'd be Danny.
Like, I thought you were being like, oh, I can explain, as if you were Tommy Wiseau. Nah, okay.
That's cameo way.
So, right, Denny's come in and he's very much just like, again, you haven't answered the question. You have dodged around it. What was Denny doing? Why was he coming in? Why was he surprised to see them? The implied narrative is terrifying. Like, is he just like stalking them a little bit and just
Oh.
imprinting a lot of his issues onto them?
I don't think I've ever actually discussed this with anyone, but like, so I think they explained that his parents aren't in the picture,
Yeah.
which is why Tommy acts as his dad and is like sending me uni and paying for his like education and stuff.
Yeah.
And
And a flat.
he keeps just like cutting in and out. Why doesn't he live with them? If he's like a wee boy, I don't understand this.
He's 18 and he's trying to give him some independence.
I know, but he's
guess.
doing homework. He's still in school.
Yeah, I guess that maybe means.
Because Tommy wants to fuck. Tommy has bought an entire other flat for this wee boy to stay in because he feels bad for him, but he still wants to fuck. And he doesn't want Denny climbing into bed and like try to get involved.
In the tickle fight.
And I know that
Right,
sounds
right.
insane that I've just said that, but
But
I
that's
think
what
that is
is
ultimately what it is, isn't it?
that's what's just about to happen.
Yeah. So what? Yeah, I think one or two things is happening Tommy Wiseau either doesn't know to call like homework at his age level of 18, like an essay, a paper. He doesn't know that because he's not fully had that cultural part of American culture ingrained into him because he's done it all through movies. Or then he's so miscast that he's meant to be younger than he is, and then they forgot and gave him a different age later. It's either a mistake in one way or it's a mistake in another. But either way, for us, it's fucking gold because it's just this weird enigma of a character who's just skulking about.
I would just like to bring up as well, sorry, before we go on, because I think it's quite important.
It's good to establish where we are.
Denny, right, the actor, is noticeably older than Lisa.
Yeah,
who is Tommy's fiance?
Tommy's character being Johnny,
and he kind of says that Lisa he kind of sees as his ma, like in a way, and sees Tommy as his dad. But he's a 30-year-old man.
Yeah, he looks it, but he's very small.
It's like when you're making like student films with your friends and stuff, and you're like, well, we can't actually find like an old man or a child, so we'll just pick one of our friends that looks the most like an old man or a child and dress them that way, and no one will notice.
It is exactly what that is. Most likely what it is, because apparently there was a lot of recasting going on. People were getting recast quite a lot in that towards the start, and then they settled it. Mostly. We'll
they never fully sort it out.
They never fully get to grips with the casting, so we'll get into that. But Denny's here. Denny. And then Denny's like, "Why, Lisa? You look so pretty." And she's like, "Ha ha ha!" And Tommy starts like Tommy as Johnny starts going ha 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 to everything that's being said. It's very fucking unnerving. And then he says, "I'm going to take a nap," and Lisa joins him, and then he gets annoyed. They go upstairs and they're weird, as you say. Is it a mezzanine? Is that what you'd call it?
Yeah, it's a mezzanine.
So spiral staircase.
Spiral shitty staircase in the middle of this room. They go up it, and then they have like this really terrible romantic patter with a rose and rose petals, and it lasts way too long.
And a pillow fight.
And the pillow fight. They're on this bed, pillow fight, rose petals, weird. It's a mattress on the floor with like weird curtain drapes that are kind of see through, and they're having this romantic session again, lasts about a minute, and then Denny joins in. Like he just comes up the stairs, watches them, and then just leaps in and just starts going, no, stop, guys, stop. And then they don't stop. They keep tickling them for a bit. And guys, we're 3 minutes in. We
still don't know who Denny is at this point.
We've not been told who Denny is. It's just this weird wee boy man who wants to be part of their sex routine. It's strange. And then they stop.
They like literally say to him like, "Okay, where are we upstairs?" Like, haha, you're not invited. And he just cuts to him like waiting downstairs, like looking up there, like, I'm gonna give it a minute. Like then they'll want me. It's so weird. It's so strange.
It's bizarre, and it's all just slightly off. They're all laughing, and then they're kind of like, Tommy Wiseau again with wild line delivery says, two's company, but three's a crowd. And then Denny's little intense eyes are just staring. He's still smiling. His eyes are dark, and he's just staring over at them both. They're like, "Come on, man, we want to be alone." He goes, I just like to watch you guys." And then they're like, "Nah, man." And he's like, "Fine,
I know
I've got homework to do." And he storms off.
The way that it's been explained, it sounds like that Denny is meant to in the film be a pervert, but I don't think that was Tommy's intention. I think that he was just meant to be a wee rascal, and he comes across like a fucking peeping Tom creep, man.
That's what I mean, man.
It's like orphans. It's like he somehow hoodwinked them into thinking that he's 18.
I was just gonna say that. That's my implied narrative, that he is actually like 35.
It's like
and he's pretending to be 18 so he can get in the flat and so he can try and shag Tommy's missus.
It's like that real life case of someone pretending to be a missing person, and they weren't. They were just pretending to be that person and just like fully encaptured that role. And that's what he's done. He's just went, "Oh, yeah, you're looking for child ward? I'm child ward. I'll do
I'm
it.
5'4". I know I look like a man, but I'm clearly
15.
18 because
You
I'm
can say I'm
24.
despite looking 30. Sorry. That incoherent ramble from us both there about his age is exactly
What it feels like to
what
watch
it feels
the
like
film.
to watch this film, yeah. But no, Denny is I think it is kind of like, as you say, like an Arthur Miller play. He would be the young son on the cusp of adulthood. You know, like clearly, like watching his parent. It's weird, but it's meant to be like he's trying to work. You know, there'd be some sort of you're coming of age, you're a man, and all this stuff. But in this context, it's just full on. There's no development of it, and he's just a fucking pervert. He's a peeping Tom.
I mean, to be fair, that is kind of like an Arthur Miller play.
Yeah.
Fair, but-
Weird sexual feelings for your surrogate parents.
Okay, that don't actually explode. Okay, it's even more genius than I thought it was. Yeah, he got that. He nailed that down. But anyway, Denny descends into hell because it's a really weird shot of him going down these dark. There's a lot of weird shots of people just going down the stairs, and it's always very, very Lynchian. Like a day, like
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Like Twin Peaks, like Blue Velvet, like Mulholland Drive, just really dark and moody. And I don't know if it's meant, but it happens. And then, less than 5 minutes into the film, we get our first sex scene. And right, we've been talking so much so far. It's been slightly uncanny. It's been a slightly weird little feeling so far with everything. That completely gets bowled over. This bizarre opening gives way to one of the most insanely strange sex scenes possibly the most visceral sex scene I've ever seen in a film.
It's so light. There's no any like warm candle lighting. Tommy Wiseau. Wiseau. How do you say it? Wiseau.
Tommy Wiseau.
Tommy Wiseau. Sorry, has a strange body. It's just quite unnerving to look at. And I'm not trying to like.
No, it looks
I'm not
carved.
trying to body shame, but he just looks like a very muscly dog when he's not got clothes on.
And it's also, I think, because it's not shot in a way that most things are shot. I feel like if anyone from that angle would look slightly like
Beastly.
strange.
Yeah, well, I've written here. It's like he's kind of carved. He's almost like a man from any era. If you show me him as a man, I mean, what time period is he from? I would be like, any time, man. He's from the human race. He's from human history. Sometime in that epoch. Keep dropping shit off my lap. I did this all day yesterday, and I'm doing it today, and I'm going to stop it. Okay. Could be from any era. It could be from any era. And yeah, this section is not flattering for anyone. There's rose petals getting stuck in everyone's back. We're getting weird ass shots of Tommy and his big muscly ass. And it's very powerful and very visceral, but it's also like, whoa, this is so weirdly shot.
It put me off my dominoes. I was like, I've never experienced that before, like watching a film where there's a sex scene and I'm like, I feel like I can't be eaten right now.
Yeah,
it was really weird.
Kind of real as well, though, because you're like, oh, they just look like people doing it, not sexy actors doing it.
Yeah.
And there's something really strange about that, and
I just don't think
kind of existential about you. Like, is that? Are
it
we all
definitely
look like
wasn't
that?
intended like that though, because they do try and do some stylistic shots. There's like this weird water feature where it looks like it's raining, kind of like the one that Joey has in Friends when he's
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
So and then they kind of film through that at a point, and they've like filmed like upstairs. Like they're always trying to do these stylistic shots, and they've got this beds with its like kind of weird curtains and stuff like that, and the rose petals. It's clearly trying to do something, but it just looks shite.
It's just overlit.
Aye, it's so bright.
It's meant to be at night, but
It's like us all shagging it under this.
So I think
Wait
Tommy
a minute,
Wiseau,
that would
like,
look shagging.
I'm
like
not gonna
Times 3.
lie, right? Like, and this is like the female gaze as well, but see, when I'm watching a sex scene in like other films, like you don't really usually see as much of like one guy's arse cheek. Like it usually focuses on like, you know, like faces or like, you know, the parts of our body that are like generally more palatable to look at. I feel like we spent a lot of time with the main focus being one of Tommy Wiseau's arse cheeks.
Yeah.
And like, who is that doing it for?
Yeah.
Him.
And I guess
You?
me. I guess it's subjective what's going on. But anyway, after that, I have it end. So I feel like he's almost like a statue, a beastly statue, and then he falls asleep. And I always point this out to people. He falls asleep in the most statuesque, comatose pose I've I've ever seen a man do, and just like shuts down for the night. And then Lisa's like, right, night. So the next day, I'm trying to keep track of time because time's going to get very fucking strange with this movie later on. Next day, Johnny leaves for work, and we get a beautiful shot of his ass as he gets up. Well,
just in case you missed it in the first show.
In case you missed half of it, here's all of it as he goes to the shower. And then he asks her, did you like last night? Again, dumb dialogue, weird delivery.
Do you like last night? She's just like,
yeah.
Yep.
And then he goes away.
And he's like, brilliant. See you later.
That's not a normal conversation to have.
Right? So he goes to work. Anyway, this is when we meet Claudette. This is Lisa's mum. She comes round. And she is one of the more fascinating characters in this film.
She is.
She
a candidate for the Rogues Gallery.
Definitely a candidate for the Rogues Gallery. Again, the Rogues Gallery being the character that's most like a kind of almost like a villainous character. It's kind of roguish. Don't have to be evil.
Out of place.
Out of place in the grander scheme of things, and have the best implied narrative.
Yes,
which is obviously very difficult with a film like this,
where everybody is roguish, everybody's got an implied narrative, and everybody's out of place. These people I've never met before.
Yeah. So Claudette comes round. She narrates and talks constantly throughout her scenes. She's like, let's go over here. Let's have a seat. Let's do this. It's like, man, just do it.
And as our producer Cammy pointed out,
stage directions.
As our producer Cammy pointed out, she's just always going home.
Aye, he said that she's in a perpetual state of going home.
She's also arriving
all
and leaving. Right, so I want to get into this. So they start talking, and Lisa immediately, straight up, says, I don't love Johnny. Tommy Wiseau's character. I don't love him.
Which I was taken aback by, because nothing so far had suggested this.
well.
No
she
vibes.
She gives a reason saying he's boring, which, you know, of all the things you can say about Tommy Wiseau, I don't think, or Johnny so far, I wouldn't say he's boring. But to me, it reads more like, look, Ma, I was in a really existentially warping sex scene last night, so I'm not really feeling it today. Can we just accept that I don't love him anymore? You're saying you're surprised. I'm not surprised. I was shagged by the statue man last night, and I feel alive and not real.
I came out of it different.
I came out of that different. I'm not saying it was bad, but I'm just saying I ain't the same.
Her mom, man, she's so funny because she just like anytime she asks her a question as well, she goes, for no reason. Who's asked her to do that?
I'd love to see you play that.
Oh my god, she would totally be my cousin, Claudette. Totally makes sense.
You also do Lisa in a really funny way though.
But she's just like always. You're so right. She's just like, right, okay. So we'll come in the door and we'll walk over here. Sit. I need you to sit. Now we'll talk. And you're like, mate.
Tell me what's going on. Now you don't want to talk. It's like, man, stop reading the book. So you got given the bits of the script that were the pages of the book. That's my theory. Because apparently none of the cast, they found it really difficult because the dialogue was the way it was. And also, no one ever got a complete script.
That really, really, really tracks.
I was going to say that as a joke because I didn't think that's what you were going to say, but that's what you said.
That is what I said. It's what happened. Look, there's so many facts on this. I'm going to whittle it down to like the essential ones. But I think we're right away getting into Lisa just expressing her disdain towards the relationship with Johnny, and Claudette's immediately just like, wait. Claudette being her mum, she's like, wait, and she gives about 40 different reasons why she should stay with Johnny. You've been together for 5 years. You're engaged. You said you loved him. He supports and provides for you, and darling, you can't do that yourself. He also said he loves you. He's a wonderful guy. I've always seen him as a son-in-law. He's also getting a position. His position's very secure. He's getting a promotion, actually. And he says he's going to buy you a house. He's bought you a car, a ring, everything you ever wanted, and now you want to dump him. That's not fine. I've always seen him as a son-in-law. And it's like, can we calm down? This is the most dialogue anyone has had, and it is just
a list.
It's a list. It is, but it's not constructed like a list. Like, I made it sound like she says that all in one long go. She does, but she'll also pause a little bit, give Lisa a little chance to go, then she'll come in again with the list. You keep thinking the list is done, and like, she keeps adding to it.
Tommy Wiseau did like a mind map of like characterization for Johnny, and then was like, oh yeah, we'll just write that down then.
So which of these, you put like 12 cool character traits, so we want at least our mum should express 3 or 4. What ones? 3 or 4? Nah, man, all of it. 3 or 4 pages? No, we'll just do the 12.
Just separated by commas, man, that'll do.
And that's what they do. It is, as I say, Tommy's just giving the character Claudette 40 reasons why Johnny is class. And this actually goes into, Greg talks about in The Disaster Artist about maybe why Tommy wrote this kind of story, which as it continues, we'll talk about a little bit later.
She's just a shite mum, though, isn't she?
Well, that's it.
She's like, I want to leave my husband. Instead of like hearing her out in any way whatsoever, she's just like, no, I don't, because you're basically never going to get any better.
Yeah, it is kind of gaslighting. I don't know if would we say that she's kind of gaslighting.
And
at this point?
again, I have no context watching this, and I was like, oh, poor Lisa.
Yeah, poor Lisa.
I was like, oh, this is such a shame. She's just like, I don't love my husband anymore. I think I'm going to leave him. And her mum's like, well, good luck feeding yourself.
So
I'm not going to help you.
So after Claudette's 40 reasons, Lisa's just kind of like, okay. And then she goes, well, I'm glad you're listening to your mother. Nobody else does. And then she says, you're probably right about that. And then Claudette says, well, I'm glad you're listening to your mother. Clearly fucking not. Like, what? Like that is comedy gold, and it wasn't meant because I don't know if that was the editing, like if it was a different line that came in there. What were you going to say? Sorry.
I've just understood exactly what's happening here.
What?
They obviously, I mean, she's raised Lisa. Lisa's a fucking nightmare. And her mum is like, you're not moving back in with me. Here's a list of reasons that's absolutely not happening.
Yes, because later on, from what we find out, Claudette's got some issues with the house, so she can't have Lisa being in it. Oh, right. That's implied narratives. That's what I mean, man. You can just start connecting it, because if it's not obvious already, this film is going to be giving us about 40 different little plot threads to follow that we
never
don't
get any of them finished.
We don't, but then if you want to try and connect them, you can. And that's a really good one that I hadn't even thought of. That's why I love this film, man. Every time I watch it, something new, something more bizarre. But yes, after that sentence, that bizarre statement, or back and forth, Claudette just leaves.
Claudette goes home.
She goes
for
home.
the first time.
So it's a
Won't be the
recurring.
last.
Excuse me. It's a recurring fucking theme.
But she's just entered.
Yeah,
She's came in, went like, sit down. This is why your husband's amazing. Goodbye.
Yeah, so like, as I say, recurring theme of no one actually staying in the room for very long. It's almost as if the sheer uncanniness is warping space and time, and like hours become minutes, and people just
Claudette's
get
just
pushed
like
away.
the Exposition Express. She just pulls into the room, drops some information, and then pulls out. That's literally it.
Right, but again, she does it really kind of naturally. Like she's maybe one. I'd say she's one. Wait. Okay, maybe I'm a bit.
In the context of this
Are we grading
film.
on a curve here?
Yeah, you're right. I just think she's one of the better performances in this film. It needs edited down, and this was her first film role. That's the actress who played her. That was her first film role.
What?
What was she doing before this?
I don't know, man. I forget. But I remember.
Imagine you just were like, oh man, okay, I guess. Yeah, I've always wanted to try by acting. Why not? Yeah, this is like a wee indie film. Give it a go. And then you're in like a cult classic for forever.
Well, this is the thing. The Room came out. Let me just check exactly, because it came out exactly 20 years ago. So
2003, didn't you?
2003, yeah. I'll check that later. But I was going to try and get the exact date of it, because it was June. We're almost exactly at 20 years from when it came out. So imagine you did a little film. You're about. I think she must be in her. I don't know. Maybe 50s, 60s. Let's say Claudette, and yeah, first film, as you say, it ends up being The Room. 20 years later, it's still being talked about. It's still as big as it was. It's wild, very funny. But I think she tries her best. But she's gone now. And but she'll be back. Don't worry, Claudette's always coming and going. She's always in motion. And this is when Lisa phones Mark. And this is when we get introduced to the real best character / worst character in the film, Mark, Greg Sestero's character. And it's immediately hilarious, because he's just like, he clearly does not give a fuck about Lisa. She's like, hey, what's up, Luke? She's like, hey there. And he's like, hey, yeah, what's up? Look, I'm really busy. Can this wait? Like, she says hi. And he's like, yeah, can this wait? And he's just in his car. And then she's like, it's such a funny character interaction. So go for it. What?
At this point as well, Claude turns to me and goes, "Do you fancy him?"
Yeah,
and Abby goes, "What? Because he's unavailable."
a beardy, unavailable man.
And I say, "Nah, because he's got a beard." And
You're like,
like
because he's got a beard and he's vaguely good looking. I was like, I just thought because he doesn't have any time for her.
Fucking hell. Aye.
Because he's no that keen. No, basically just slagged myself off. It was fine.
Boyed yourself.
Boyed
You
myself.
lasted yourself.
I boyed myself a few times watching this last time.
Same. I think the thing is, you kind not. The film fully embraces just buoying yourself completely. Like if you come out the room not feeling buoyed by the idea of film in general, then the room's not hit you right. You need to watch it again, get it back on, get rewatched the opening scene like Abby says, and it will click in place. But I think it's very, very funny as like this character introduction. It's very clear that Lisa's like, "Hey, I want you to come over. I have issues with Johnny. We need to talk about it. We need to talk about it." And it's very clear that she's into him. And she's like, it's so funny, just his phone manner with her. Like, she's like, "Come over here. Come over, my desire, my love." Or come over. And she's like, "All right, see ya." Just very fucking cuts out. And like later on in the film, she's like, you know, "I miss you. Hey, Mark, I miss you." Because, spoiler alert, they start having an affair. And she's like, "I miss you." And he's like, "What are you talking about? I just saw you." Like, he doesn't give a fuck.
Like,
and it's so funny.
So funny because he has no motivation.
Well,
Like
that's it.
there's no like nefarious reason behind why he is the way he is. He doesn't love Lisa. He seems to love Johnny,
Yeah.
but then not so much.
Not really.
And it's not like he's got like a job or like he's always busy.
It's
Just always busy.
Well,
It's
that's the
not like
thing.
as well that we've ever said like, "Oh, he's not very lucky with ladies" or anything like that, so this is his only chance. Or and like, he's a really good looking guy. He's got no motivation for what he's doing whatsoever. He hates Lisa and he loves his best pal. So why is he shagging his best pal's fiance?
That's the complexity of life that the room presents. Because we all do crazy things that don't make sense.
Some more than others.
Some more than others. But no, funnily enough, Greg Sestero talks about his character and he says, "I tried so hard to get Tommy to let me include some more of his backstory." Because he says, "I personally came up with a backstory for Greg to try and make sense of what was happening in this plot." So he says that he reckons Greg is a vice detective. Mark. Greg reckons that Mark is a vice detective. So like, you know, busting sex rings and stuff like that and tracking down like pimps. And that's why he's so unhinged. And
I like to think that Mark, the character, is a producer on his pal's film. And he's trying to manage this whole situation on the side. His character has just got his...
that's what Greg is.
Aye.
Right, perfect. Again, this is
I
what...
think there's something about that shot where he's in his car talking to Lisa for the first time that I'm like, I feel like
You're
somebody
on
just
set.
pulled a camera up and was just like, "Yeah, just do it here. That'll be fine."
Well, as I said, he started off... He was just friends with Tommy Wiseau, Greg Sestero, and he was his line producer, which somehow he got into that despite... Well, they were like trying to get jobs in LA together, right? And that's actually why Tommy Wiseau made his jeans commercial, because he wanted a SAG card, Screen Actors Guild card, and he could only get it if you had a credit. So he went, "Fuck it, I'm going to make this ridiculous commercial for my own stuff, promote myself, make more money." Greg was getting some roles, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually Tommy was like, "Well, we'll do a project together." But Greg wasn't meant to be the lead role. They actually had someone else as the lead role. And reportedly about the first day of filming, Tommy was like, "Nah, man, I think you should be the lead." And then Greg was like, "Well, I'm flattered. It's more money, sure, but you have to fire the other guy." And he's like, "Nah, what we'll do instead, man, we'll just have you do the same scenes as the actor I've already hired to play Greg, and we'll just say it's for another casting agent for... Let's just play Mark. We'll just say it's for another casting agent. We'll just say it's for our casting thing. And we just won't tell anyone, but we'll tell the DP not to record the first guy." And obviously, they told the DP this, and he's just freaking out. He does later quit, which makes a lot of sense. And I'm pretty sure on that first day, it's very uncomfortable and very clear what Tommy's doing. And this guy, like, straight up quits, which is very fair.
Can you imagine being recast on this film?
I know, man. That's the ultimate buy-in.
That is the ultimate buy-in.
Getting sacked from the room.
You weren't good enough for the room. Right. But aye.
Too good for the room.
So, Greg is very firmly brought into the film as Mark, and he talks about how him and a lot of the people on it just thought it was a vanity project of Tommy's that had no chance of ever getting really made. And since he was being so erratic and so dictatorial, and then being late for set, not knowing his lines, fucking up shots, not preparing, etc., they kind of were just like, well, we're not going to put that much effort into it either. So he talks about, my performance is a bit lackluster in a lot of scenes because honestly didn't think it was going to get finished. And I was just trying to get through the day. We'd been there for like 12 hours or 8 hours or what the fuck.
Yeah, because he's arguably the most wooden in it.
It's so good though, because it feels like a guy that you know who's just somehow a bit charming, but he's no really. And so she says to him, the whole point of this conversation is literally just, hey, do you want to come hang out? And he's like, yeah, sure, see you. Right, come round at noon. All right, bye. Doesn't give a fuck. And then we cut to the next day at noon. Don't know why we didn't just compress the scene and have him just come over, but here we go.
Also, noon?
Noon?
To hang out?
To hang out?
To, spoilers, fuck?
Yeah.
What?
Well, I guess it's because Tommy's at work, or Johnny's at work. I keep doing this.
Go on Mark's flat.
Well, that's what we'll get to. Yeah, why don't they go to Mark's flat? Where does Mark live? We'll find that one out later.
Nothing else exists.
Because nothing else exists.
Except for this fucking room.
The room is almost like a distillation.
And a garden shop.
Well, that's coming up. It's almost like the room is a distillation of all our wants and like all of our fucking romantic interests and interplay between with other relationships.
Is it?
No, but just boiled down to that, but as if you couldn't actually do it.
What?
I feel like I'm watching a Tommy Wiseau interview.
No, right. What I'm trying to say
Mere
is,
plot, wee boy.
I'm just saying.
I've not even got to my first note yet.
Right. I'm just saying.
Cammy,
It's wild.
go and zoom in on out on this guy while he rambles bitch.
I'm just saying. Fuck it. Right. So, Greg and Lisa meet, and what we have here is
Mark and Lisa meet.
oh my god, Mark and Lisa meet. You zoom in on me. Mark and Lisa meet, and they Mark is immediately jarred. He's put off, and Lisa is like, "Can I be more comfortable?" and takes off her sweater, and then Mark says the infamous line that the audience always shouts out, "What's going on here? I mean, the candles, the music, the sexy dress. What's going on?" There are no candles. The music is the soundtrack. So he's not hearing that. And arguably the dress isn't sexy.
I think it's a top and a skirt as well.
Yeah, it's not even a dress.
It's not a dress. There you go. And he's like, "What are you doing this for?" Like with this, he's such a fuckboy in this scene. He's just like, "What's going on? Like, what are you doing?" Johnny's my best friend, and then he reveals, "What are you doing? You and Johnny are getting married next month."
Why did you come over, man? Like, you've arranged a hookup. Why are you going to show up and be like, "What's going on?
Oh, hi, my pals.
Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?"
My pal's hot fiance has asked me to come around at 12 o'clock in the afternoon when he's not going to be around. That doesn't sound suspicious at all. I have no idea what's going to happen here.
And she's addressing me by like baby.
Yeah.
Like what?
He's the biggest arsehole because he's just doing this whole plausible deniability thing of,
Here's my
I just went around to see
question.
her, trying to help her. What's your question?
Genuine question, not a like, implied now. Are they going out before the start of this film? Are they already seeing each other, or is this the beginning of them seeing each other?
I think this is the beginning of it. But
So she immediately jumps in with a "Hey baby, come over and fuck." Like, that's a lot.
see, this is the thing. It could either be the beginning of it, or given how Mark reacts all the time to the sex
It could be
scenes, it could be
3 years in.
It could be 3 years in, right? It could
Oh my god, does Mark just have amnesia?
because of his Vice detective role. It's like he's so fucked up. That's his only
He's like
stability.
the cop from Memento.
Yeah. The only stability he has.
Cop? I don't know.
Yes.
That doesn't matter.
The only stability he has is this unstable relationship with Lisa, which he's not into, which is hilarious. But anyway, this, as I was saying, this is this film being so casually surreal. Like all the elements start working in when you view it from that viewpoint of this is the most casually surreal thing you'll ever see. A deconstruction of family dramas and plays and marriage and couples. and this is perfectly encapsulated in this scene, because when they first kiss, the shot is like out of focus and it's blurred, almost like they're starting to blur the lines of their relationship boundaries.
Yeah, you've said that a couple of times, and I think...
And it's not deliberate, but I'm reading into that. And then the music also does like this weird as that happens. It's so strange. And next, we get into our second sex scene, less than 80 minutes into the plot, way too far into the episode. And this is the You Are My Rose sex scene, where the song You Are My Rose repeats those phrases. That phrase, You Are My Rose, over and over and over.
And they have sex on metal stairs.
On metal fucking stairs in this mezzanine.
This is like, I mean, I don't know whether is it like I can't like do this in the bed as a sign of vague respect towards Johnny, or is he just like genuinely prepared for a speedy exit? Like if he's on the stairs, he's going to be able to like scoot faster.
Aye, but why not the bed or the couch?
Yeah.
Why does that have to be the stairs? I can't think of somewhere worse.
Easier to clean.
I can't think of somewhere worse to be caught as well.
They were on the couch.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that is the what. Yeah, right.
Yeah, what else are you doing on the stairs? Like
Aye.
we were having a wee nap. We were having a wee weird pillow play fight on the couch.
If he comes in there in bed, they'll hear that from upstairs and be like, "All right, let's get ourselves sorted and come up with a plan here."
Yeah, like you go into the toilet and pretend you're fixing a pipe, and I'll pretend I'm sleeping in bed.
Yeah,
Something
so
stupid.
uncomfortable
Anything,
as well.
Anything but
And
what
then
they're doing.
like there's also the
The couch, you could just sit next to each other and be like, "Oh, we're just watching TV." They don't have a TV.
You don't have a TV. That is also very.
But the stairs, why are you just lying on the stairs on top of each other?
Also, there's those kind of stairs. It's like there's like gaps in between each level, and it's like filmed from inside the stairs, which I get. I mean, I was like, it's almost like there's a wee man in the stairs looking at them, and you were like, there is. It's Tommy Wiseau.
He's
But
filming
like,
it.
I mean, in world, it's almost as if there's
like Denny's there.
Yeah, it's like there's a wee POV. I honestly thought they were going to like suddenly like react to this wee person, because I was still expecting the room to be like a horror film.
Right.
I didn't know yet that it wasn't going to be a horror film.
Aye, because it does totally set up as like anytime a character says something that's vaguely kind of confrontational as well, like they have violins peaking and stuff like that, and it does feel like a horror film because of
I feel
that.
like I was just being like edged for this to be like more than it was,
Yeah.
and yet somehow it was more than it is.
Yeah, it's so strange, man. But like, you're right. I think that's probably goes in line with the idea that it wasn't deliberate that Denny was coming across as a pervert, because I feel like that would have been such a natural point to actually have Denny film them, because then he could have been the one that was like, I've discovered your relationship, let me in on it, or I'll tell Tommy. I think that would have been a much more dark and weird thing. But Tommy, obviously unaware of how creepy Denny comes across, and is like, yeah, no, he's just the kid.
He's an adult man. He's a
older than
man
me.
boy.
He's older than me. And he's like 5 years older than me, the actor playing it. And it's like, Jesus Christ. It's like if I came in like, all right, guys, I'm your child ward. Oh, are you Tommy and I'm Denny? Is that what's happening, Abby? Are you actually Tommy
We've
Wiseau?
literally said on this podcast before that, like, if I've had like, it makes me say if I've like, in my previous relationship, there've been times when hungover, you've tried to like get in for a cuddle.
Yeah, but not trying to shag you guys. But I wanted a cuddle because it was cold. Oh, God.
You're Daddy!
I always call you my son. I'm younger than you.
I want to stop the podcast.
This is the
I wanna
worst
go home.
thing I've ever heard
I wanna go home.
in my entire
I want to go home.
life.
Okay,
Oh my
I'm
God.
somehow...
You are Danny the parrot.
I'm somehow Denny, Tommy,
Swanny.
Bond, and Swanny. All of them. Swanny's all of the above and below. Definitely. Jesus fucking Christ. So, right, after that boing experience, let's talk about their boing sex scene. On the sex scene lasts way too long on the staircase. Back to the plot. Oh, fucking hell.
He's wearing his jeans.
Oh, yeah, he's
for
wearing
half
his jeans
of
for
it.
it. Like, he's
And
moaning
he's
and
moaning
groaning.
as if he is inside of her, and he's not.
Yeah, like...
And then also like he moans like when she like before when he accuses her of being like, why are you doing this? She like touches his hand and he's like, it's like,
Yeah.
what are
Also,
you doing?
as you pointed out, they have no chemistry.
They have absolutely no chemistry, and she serves him red wine in a champagne flute. Which is just like, it looks wrong. And that's talking to somebody who recently drank 10 instead of a wine glass. But like, it just looks incorrect.
But that's what I mean. The whole film is every single scene is just slightly uncanny. It's like it is like an alien has went, hey, what is human life like?
Oh, they're like wine.
I'm recreating it.
Wine glass. Yeah.
It's stressful and serendipitous and uplifting. It's crazy to watch. You're My Rose continues for way too long. We think they're fucking. He's still wearing jeans, as you say, and then we finish. And the reason that he's still wearing jeans is because he had seen how Tommy Wiseau filmed and edited that first sex scene. He was like, "Nah, man, I know how you shoot sex scenes. I don't want my arse like that. I just don't. I'm a male model. I kind of need to maintain that I'm really, really sexy." And even I, being sexy, conventional-looking male model, will look terrible if you film me fucking. So they don't. And they finish, they sit there, get dressed, and then Mark just goes, "Ugh, why did you do this to me?"
As if he had no part in it. Says this to Lisa after they've had sex. As if like, oh, why did you make me come over to your house and have sex with you on my best friend and your fiance's stairs? Like, this was a 50-50 choice, man. You are a scumbag.
He lives in that building.
Well, that's what gets revealed later, that Mark actually does live in this building. Begging the question, why is this happening on their staircase? So, anyway, Mark then reiterates, "Johnny's my best friend." And then she's literally like, "Yeah, you've said." Because the thing is, this film's kind of hard to kind of do a plot rundown for at some points, because a lot of the time they're just saying the same things to each other, just reaffirming over and over. I'm future husband, future wife, best friend, don't love him, he's boring.
Just in case they had to recast one of the actors, so we could just have a pinpoint of who they were meant to be again.
It's just a floating narrative.
Except for the one time they do that, and you have no idea who that is.
Well, we'll get to it. So, anyway, after this, we come to what I think is like this one of the most perfectly edited sequences in film history, and that is the anniversary flower shop sequence. It's just so well constructed, because all you get is you're just getting Tommy Wiseau comes up and he fucking. This is the one that we missed because we were laughing talking about something.
Anniversary flowers for any occasion.
Any occasion. That's the shop he comes to. The music's playing. This light little doo 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 music's playing. He rolls up in his car. Takes ages to stop the car and parking it right. Like, it takes longer than normally would, especially if you know you're being filmed, which he maybe does. So he comes into this gift shop, walks up, and is like, "Hi, can I get a dozen red roses?" And it's all of it's overdubbed. And she's like, "Oh, hey Johnny, I didn't recognize it was you." And it's like, how?
It's Tommy Wiseau, man.
Big black sunglasses, long black hair, and a fucking oversized suit. He looks the same all the time. How did you not know it was him? Anyway, he gets the roses, says thank you, goes away, takes them, leaves, and then goes, "Hi, doggy." And the way he's walked in and the way the shots have edited, he's blocked this dog that's on the countertop, so that when he moves out the way and goes, "Oh, thank you. Oh, hi, doggy," that's like a joke, because we've not seen the dog. It's been hidden from us. And it's like, haha, there's a dog there. But it's not deliberate.
Also, it's the delivery of this scene. It's like, "Oh, hi, Johnny. I didn't know it was you. Okay, thanks. You're my favorite customer.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, doggy." That is how fast the dialogue
how
goes.
kids play with dolls when they're doing both voices.
Oh my God, you're so fucking right. That's what it feels like. This all feels like a Doll's House recreation of real life.
You're my
Is this where I should bring up? Because this is actually where I made this comment.
Make it,
Go
yeah.
for it.
Because at this point, you two paused the film, turned around to me and went, "What do you make of this?" And
Yeah, because at this point we just been kind of going through it, laughing. Claude and I are doing the bits, and Abby's we're just letting
grappling.
She's grappling with what's going on, but we're aware. I became aware anyway of like, hey, let's actually just check in with how Abby views this. And what did you say?
I felt like this film was weirdly familiar, even though I knew I'd never seen it before. But there was elements of it that seemed very nostalgic to me. And then I realised, and honestly last night I was like, this film reminds me of, I genuinely now am a little bit convinced that this film is a product of Tommy Wiseau playing The Sims.
See, as soon as you said it, man, it was like a light bulb went off. I was like, oh my God, this is just translated Simish.
Simlish.
But like also like, because I was like, we're in a like one bedroom Spanish inspired like flat, which is very like some of the houses in The Sims 2.
Yep.
Like you've got two characters, Tommy and Lisa, who both look like they're dressed as if like you hadn't bought the expansion packs and you just had to make do with whatever came in the game.
Shuffle.
You ran out of money halfway
know.
through building the set.
They both stand about constantly, like
house.
they don't like have any interaction in between dialogue. Like they're waiting for instructions. Everything is so wooden and repetitive, as if there's a minimum number of like interactions you can have. And then like, you know, as any 13-year-old would do after they created Tommy and Lisa and put them in their first house, it's like, oh, have sex. It's like, oh, Tommy's gone to work. What are we going to do? Have sex with the neighbour.
Right?
Like it's literally like, and then the shots or even like the animations, like that's what the sex scene looks like.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Like, and then everything, the outfits, the hairstyles, like everything is literally just like he was playing The Sims 2. Even in like future scenes where Lisa just declares like, right, everyone, let's go outside. It's like when you used to make your sim go outside and then be like, call everyone outside so that every single person in the party would have to move.
Totally.
The weird food, everything. It's like The Sims.
You're so right. And also, I feel as well when they actually start going out into the world more, it's like an expansion pack's been given on.
Yeah.
Or we're playing Sims the Herbs now and we're going to the coffee shop for a bizarre scene, which we'll get to. But I thought...
That, like even them at some point, him and Mark go to the park and just throw a ball to each other. That's so something to Sims. Just let's go to the park just to throw a ball to each other and talk every now and then.
Everyone has vague jobs. Banker, computers, psychologists.
The one scene on the rooftop, which we're getting to, is when they like got one of the mods that didn't come with the game because it's too edgy.
Yes.
That's why it's so glitchy and weird.
But, Ari, see, as soon as you said that, this is one of the reasons I love watching films with other people, and especially with you guys, because you always bring out a different part of the films that I love. Me and you, Claude, have watched The Room countless times and built up so much pattern about it just being this surrealist masterpiece. I'd never seen it with Abby before, so I was excited to see what you were going to say about it. And as soon as you said it's like The Sims, I was like, oh my, like, I can't express to you how true that is.
I don't think anyone has ever made that comparison before. It's it's the first unique thought.
I don't know, I'm sure that's not true. But even things like, you know, time just happens weirdly. It's always 3 weeks and then it's like
because they're fast
forwarding through this. Like,
water.
Oh man,
very funny.
Yeah.
So right now, inexplicably, it's night time, and Lisa orders an abomination of a pizza.
Did you get the order?
It is what I didn't get all of it. Can you guys remember any of it?
Courgette.
No, it's
light on the cheese.
Light on the cheese, pineapple, half artichoke, and pesto. That's it. Half artichoke, pesto, light on the cheese with pineapple.
What the fuck? Who has ever got that?
No one has ever made that order and never will again. And I kind of want to do it next.
you need to do it.
Oh, we should have done that last night.
You're gonna have like people at Domino's being like, "Oh, another fucking room pizza."
I get a wee room order.
Spit in it, grog in it.
Please, I'll make it tastier probably. Anyway.
I'm not gonna lie, all those things individually I love.
Yeah, but together, not on that light cheese. Imagine it's class.
No tomato sauce?
I imagine there's tomato sauce on it.
I don't.
Yeah, they know, like, all right, it's Johnny's order, I get it. That's fine. Yeah, Johnny's not allowed tomatoes.
Oh, someone has done it. See, actually, that looks class.
Boggin?
I love artichokes. I love courgette.
Half
I
of it
love
looks
pesto.
alright. The bottom half, I could see the top half, so that's giving me nightmares.
I mean, I think it's cooked
Actual
yet.
fuck.
Oh yeah, fair, right. It looks like those TikToks or those videos of that guy who makes terrible food stuff.
Yeah,
but it's no good.
This is shocking. I can't believe anybody.
Maybe I'm just really hungry, but the bottom half that looks class.
It does look alright, doesn't it? But what is that chunk though?
Artichoke.
That artichoke. Oh, I thought it was
love
chicken. No, it
artichoke.
looks bog. Get it gone, Cammy. That's an absolute nightmare of an order. So she makes it. She makes the order.
All of that looks like it was spat onto that dough, man.
It was all fucking like regurgitated onto the dough by Tommy. No. So, after this abomination is ordered, after this pizza order, Denny shows up and immediately starts sexually harassing Lisa. And he's like, oh, you look. Tommy Wiseau laughing in the background, Cammy. But Denny is like, oh, Lisa, you look so great. Can I kiss you? And she's like, you're a little brat. And I'm like, no, he's not.
He's 18, but he's also 35.
Aye.
And
so,
I worked out as well, just for context. So he was about like 32 when this was being
Denny?
made. Yes.
Yeah.
And Lisa was 40 this year. Came out in
She was 40 this year.
41.
So she was
this year.
21 when this was made.
Yeah. So you have 35-year-old Denny being like, can I kiss you? And her after being like, you little brat. Ew, that is horrible. Isn't that the worst thing you've ever
It's
heard?
maybe the worst thing I've heard in a long time. Aye, it's shocking. But aye, so
Made me squeal like
Denny's
a pig.
he just comes in, harasses Lisa, and then immediately leaves. He's just like, oh, I'm gone.
The perpetual state of leaving.
Perpetual state of motion. So, and then that's when Johnny comes in, and he reveals in a very, very, this entire sequence is overdubbed, and it's very bizarre, but he reveals he didn't get the promotion at the bank. It's very bizarre because of the dubbing, but also weirdly captivating because his voice to facials is just a little bit off. But it makes Johnny this kind of really enigmatic and engaging character to watch. He's like, this son of a bitch told me I'd get the job, and then he didn't. And he's like, they betray me and I don't care anymore. It's just like so many reasons for why the bank's fucked him over, and it's just like, pick 2, not 8. And then she's like, I still love you, which is a fucking flat out lie, but okay. And then he goes, you're the only one who does. You're the only one who does. And just when the uncanny is getting too strong, suddenly we just break. And she goes, in response to, you're the only one who does love me, she says, at least you have friends. I didn't get any calls today. Which is a lie.
She spent the whole day on the fucking phone.
Yep. And then he goes, you're right. The computer business is too competitive. And Johnny just looks at her. And I've just written discuss. What the fuck does that mean?
He works in a bank. Also, did she not? Because I've written down, unless we skip back, I didn't notice that we skipped back because it wouldn't be out of place. But Johnny comes home and tells her he doesn't get the promotion. And then she goes, oh, that's a shame or whatever. And then she goes, you didn't get it, did you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like, what happened there?
Yeah, he's already said
this
that.
Is like, so when we finished, and again after you left last night, we were like, oh, deleted scenes, because that's where I just kept thinking this film was like, I was like, they must have cut out so many bits of this that makes everything like lack context, and just so many things that like, and then we watched the deleted scenes and it was just like a different version of a scene that is in the film. And I'm like, that can't be the only thing that was
Filmed
deleted.
on that terrible alleyway set that we'll get to very, very shortly for
it was just
Claude's
like-
favourite sequence in
Because
cinema.
I was like, surely they've shot this twice and then they've like realised they didn't have full coverage either way and they've spliced together 2 different scenes. But like, there must be more deleted scenes in this. This can't be like, they're all one take wonders.
No,
like,
I don't know, man. But I think
maybe.
again, this is why I wanted to bring
Maybe.
up Eric. Yeah, maybe Eric Yakult Chase. Like he clearly just edited what he had, and I've got to give him the biggest round of applause for having a conversation about his lack of promotion, and then her not having pals devolving into her going, "Yeah, well, I guess the computer business is competitive, like you said," and I'm just looking at her like, "What?"
I told you that, like,
the
when I-
vision to do that.
when I get really steaming and I start telling a story and then I realise that I've forgotten what the end of my story is, I decide, or when I'm steaming I think this is okay, that if I just end with any ending of any story, then people aren't going to notice. So I'd be like telling a story about like what happened on my 6th-year holiday in Malia, and I'd end it with, and anyway, that's why I just stopped going to PE.
Isn't that what you said to someone and you just watched their mind kind of break a little bit?
Because
but
they were
very
also drunk.
And they were just like, okay. But yeah, that's what this feels like. And I think it's brilliant. But
So she asked him if he wants to order a pizza, and he's like, nah. And she was like, I've already ordered a pizza. And he's like, oh,
you think of everything.
you think of everything.
As this bogging pizza is getting boiled in a fucking cauldron somewhere. Anyway, so Lisa attempts to cheer them up with the classic drink, whiskey and vodka.
In the same glass.
In the same glass.
And that's it.
And that's it. And she's like, but he's like, but I don't drink, you know that, again in a very weird accent. So this is known as everyone shouts at the screen, Scotchka, when this happens. But as Scottish people, we're going to give it its proper name. And I'm going to give it the name A Saturday Night Twist. Whiskey and vodka, the Saturday Night Twist. And they get, what were we going to say?
Sorry, at this point as well, as where I've written down the note, how has no one looked at Lisa? Like, I feel like we've had so many scenes, including 2 sex scenes. I was like, watching her and Tommy interact, I was like, he cannot look her in the eye. Like, I've seen
Really?
Lisa, and basically she's been in the entire film at this point. And, like, no one looks at her. And it's just so bizarre. I was like, this is why none of the characters have any chemistry, because no one's looked at her yet.
Yeah, no one's met.
Like, it's so weird.
Like, even in the universe, no one's met. So continuing, they get steaming in a very, very odd
What a
way.
wild fucking drink to give somebody who doesn't drink. Half whiskey and half vodka is fucking insane. It would literally
Kill you.
It would, yeah.
Well,
You
the
would have
minute they
to,
drink.
you would have to get your
finish the
stomach.
bottle.
Aye,
Yeah,
you would
they-
have to get your stomach pumped.
Yeah, because we cut to
I
them.
did that. I drank a lot of vodka. I drank a half litre when I was 17 or 16, and I had never drank before. I think I drank maybe twice before, and that was it. And I drank a half litre of vodka, and I almost went to the hospital because that's how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have.
I'm all right, by the way.
Aye, she's okay now. It was a long road. No. A full bottle of vodka and presumably a bottle of whiskey later. We see them empty. And again, this scene, it kind of reads like someone who's never been drunk before, because Lisa's got like a tie on her head. And it's like, whoa. And then he just starts downing the last of the vodka. And like, it's just dribbling down his fucking face. And he's like, how are you doing this? He's like, it tastes great.
Not gonna
Smashes
lie,
the
though.
glass.
Because also, like, she gives him this weird cocktail of, like, whiskey and vodka, and he's like,
Saturday Night Twist.
it tastes great. And I'm like, no, if you don't drink, you're going to be like, this is bogging.
Aye.
This is paint thinner.
Do you know,
only-
though,
it's-
I know that you said that his, like, performance of being drunk isn't realistic, but specifically him like drinking and it all dribbling down his chin and stuff like that really, like, and then just smashing his glass really reminded me. I was out like a
us?
couple of weeks ago. No,
Okay, good.
I was out with it a couple of weeks ago, and I was out in the smoking area with my pal, and he burnt my arm with a fag by accident, right? And he was like, or no, I think his arm burnt. I think both of us burnt arms at some point. But anyway, he held out his arm because I was holding like a cold drink with ice in it, and he was like, "Oh, could you put that on there?" And then instead of like, you know, putting the glass on there, I poured the entire drink on his arm. And then just threw my glass away, and I was like, don't know why I did
So
that.
again, once again, the room in its bizarre surrealness is actually capturing reality.
The cat house
Weirdly accurate.
smoking area is the room, apparently.
The cat house is the fucking
It
room.
is.
But yeah, no, that's just the result of a Saturday Night Twist, Claude. The most famous drink in all of Glasgow. You should come here, guys. Whiskey and vodka, that's what we drink. So, after that, she's like, let's have sex. And he's like, oh, nah. Because he's just had, and again, a bottle of whiskey and a bottle of vodka. That's the last thing he'd be thinking about doing. But then, of course, again, we're only 25 minutes in. We have our third sex scene of unused footage from the first sex scene. Because the actress was kind of like, yeah, I feel we want to do the same sex scene in the same location again. I feel like we kind of got enough coverage of that. It's not in the script, so I don't want to. And then they were like, okay. So they just reused footage from the first sex scene. And it's very clearly, like, she's put on earrings again, as you pointed out. The roses are back out. They're being very, very, like, it makes more
They were
sense.
having sex in The Sims. Every time they have sex, rose petals appear.
Yeah, it's
Oh my
exactly
God,
the same.
you're it's so
They do it the exact same way every time.
This is blowing my mind. This revelation is blowing my mind. Anyway, we cut to, I'm assuming the next day, because Claudette, Lisa's mum, comes over and rambles on again, this time about a housing dispute for the deed of the house between her and her brother. And that's, again, a plot line that gets built up, and we kind of tied to that previous one, but it goes nowhere. The film doesn't address it. We shouldn't care, but I care so much. And then she goes, well, I got the results of the test back.
Well, no, before this,
Oh.
just the way that she words it is so funny because she's like, oh, this housing dispute. Because you think that she's talking about the housing dispute because she's like, oh, my brother, he wants my house, but it's my house, so I should be able to get it. And she's like, oh, don't worry about it, Mum. And then she's like, oh, I'm dying. And she's like, you're not dying, Mum. And she's like, no, I got the test results back. I definitely have breast cancer. And then she's like,
oh, don't worry. They're curing people all the time, Mum. And it's never brought up again. Ever. Implied narrative. And then immediately from that, Lisa then just tells her that Johnny got drunk and hit her. And Claudette doesn't believe her. And she just says, oh, he doesn't drink. So I've just written down that they are both terrible at being a mother and a daughter.
to each other.
But the implied narrative that I kind of worked out when I was watching it again today, because I watched it again today, not just from last night, because I fucking don't know why. And the implied narrative that they ignore one another's problems to get back at one another for ignoring their problems.
And
So
it's
they're
just
just
a
stuck in
perpetual
this,
horrible cycle.
stuck in this horror cycle. And no one gets
I want
out
to leave
of
my
them.
husband because he hit me. I have breast cancer. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, but my husband hit me.
Also, there's an implication that both of them are lying as well.
Yeah.
Oh my god, do you
Well,
think
they are. Well, Lisa is lying. 'cause
Oh
we've
my
seen
god,
that
is it a
scene.
hereditary, like, pathological lying, like, problem?
Oh my god.
It
Is
could
that
be.
kind of what's happening here?
Could be.
Because we know Lisa, we know from what we saw of that last sequence that Johnny did not hit her. For all his weird flaws or weird things going on, he didn't hit her,
No.
right? So does that mean, and because she never brings up the breast cancer again, does that mean she's lying about that as well for reasons?
Could be.
That would be shocking.
It's a very dark reading of it.
But they never explain it. So
Then
we will never know.
No, we'll never know. And then, of course, as if on cue, she leaves. Claudette just leaves again, but not before Lisa, on the way out, as she leaves, says, "Oh, Johnny's birthday. We're going to be doing that later next week." Okay, the wedding's in a month. She also revealed that she's not got her wedding dress yet. There's time. It's in a month. I don't think Tommy Wiseau knows how long it takes to plan these things. And again, it's been a month since the start of the film, which was at least 2 or 3 days by this point. Anyway, it's fine because at this point, they both leave the room, apparently. We have some shots of San Francisco, and then we get some quirky little playful music again, and we meet 2 new characters, Michelle and Mike, who apparently use the room as a place to shag. So these 2 guys just show up, and they just start having sex.
They just let themselves in.
Johnny and Lisa aren't in.
No one's in. They just come in, and their performances are so over the top, and they have this weird food fetish, eating chocolates off each other, and he gives the most. It's so funny. He gives the most exaggerated like sex faces I've ever seen. It's meant to be like he's getting a blowjob, right? And he's doing this real big reaction, but
It just looks like he's gouching, man.
he looks like he's on something, and also her head is still at his chest, like, and he just starts reacting like he's getting.
The most bizarre thing I've ever seen. He starts making the faces as soon as she pulls away from kissing him, and she's just like, not doing anything.
Yeah, she's not even touching him. She's not even rubbing against him. And he's like that, and you're like, mate. It does
crazy.
look like he's gardening though.
Yeah, it's really. It's the kind of guy you'd avoid in a club.
And you're like, fuck me, what's he taking?
What's he
then?
taking? Can I get some? Maybe no. But that happens, and then immediately. So I'm just writing down. When is this? When does this happen? Because didn't we just see Lisa saying last night, Johnny hit me, and then her mum leaves, and she's still in the house. But then they're in the house. So what's she doing? But then suddenly Lisa and Claudette show up again. They just come back in. And Claudette very astutely, very metaphysically says, "What are these characters doing here?" And I'm like, yep.
Hi, man. What are they doing here?
What are you doing here? What's happening? Anyway, they run away, grabbing their stuff quickly. Oh my God, how embarrassing. Michelle and Mike leave. And Lisa's like, oh yeah, they're Michelle and Mike. They just come around to do homework. Again, are they Denny's classmates? Is that who they are?
That would be
There's implied narrative.
shocking.
Why are they also adults and like best friends with Lisa? And like, why?
Why don't they have a flat?
What are they all studying?
I don't know,
Are
man.
they all students?
Are they all acting students?
Maybe,
And
man.
that's like rehearsing for a play?
You go, oh, don't. That's what. So the room itself is actually the rehearsals for their play.
Oh, I don't know.
Right, exactly, Abby. I'm going to stop you there because if you want to go down that rabbit
it's
hole, I'll do it. But it'll be 5 hours long.
A kind of Midsummer Night's Dream type of vibe going on. A play within a play within a play.
Anyway, so then Michelle and Mike leave. Claudette sits down for about 2 minutes before she leaves again because Denny shows up and he needs ingredients for a cake.
Not like an ingredient for a cake. All the ingredients for a cake.
He comes in and goes, can I borrow some sugar? And then Claudette's like, how many people come in and out of this room all day? And then he's like, I'll come back later. He's like, is this a sitcom? What's happening? And then he goes, can I borrow some sugar? She's like, don't you have a kitchen? Lisa's like, Mum, it's fine. Yeah, you can have some sugar, Denny, of course. Oh yeah, can I also get half a stick of butter, a cup of flour as well? And it's like, so to make this cake, you have eggs. So you looked at his eggs and went, I don't want to make eggs today. I really want to make a cake. I'm going to go downstairs and get it from Tommy and Lisa. Johnny and Lisa. Jesus Christ. So
She's
anyway,
a freeloader.
So then after that, the movie has officially lost it because Claudette just leaves. Denny leaves without getting his stick of butter and stuff. And then Mike shows back up because he's lost his underwear just before Claudette and Lisa leave.
A huge deal to him.
He's like, oh my God, I left my underwear. And he's
Also-
like, homework.
Also-
Like, what is happening?
I'd just like to say, at the point, this is from what I've seen, right? Lisa and Claudette come in whilst Michelle is giving, what's his name? Mike? A blowjob. So why is he taking his pants off? Why are they fully off and tucked under a cushion? Why are they not just around his ankles?
Yeah, because
He's got other clothes on.
Yeah, he clearly pulled the jeans up quickly. So what has he done? He's a magician. He's part of the magic eye.
He's taking his pants off, but not his t-shirt or his jumper.
It's part of the magic eye from Now You See Me. They're all connected. The room is actually a connection point between all of our different films.
That's what the San Francisco
Because I also have a
San Francisco Bridge is.
Yeah. And I also have a revelation about a plot point that Tommy Wiseau wanted to do at the end, but they didn't let him. And it ties it all together even more. Okay. So we'll get to that in a minute. And it will answer some of our Santa Clara questions from the Lost Boys episode last time. So anyway, the movie, as I say, has officially lost the fucking plot. And it doesn't know when people are coming and going, doesn't know what they're doing. And of course, then we just change tone entirely because we come to the Chris R. roof sequence. We go straight into it. As I say, ridiculous tone shift. So Denny is on top of their apartment on the balcony. And we'll talk about the balcony in just a second, but that's just the scene that we see. Denny's on the balcony, looking out over quote unquote San Francisco, because it's a green screen background. And this guy, Chris R, comes in. And it's like, oh, hey, Chris R. And he comes in with like his beanie on, his tank top, and he looks menacing. And the music immediately goes, doo-dum, doo-dum, like fucking Jaws. And he comes up to Denny, and he's like, you got my money? He's like, oh, it's coming, Chris R. It's coming in 5 minutes. What does that mean? It's coming in 5 minutes. It never shows up. It never shows up. I don't know what the fuck Denny's plan was.
Why did he only give himself 5 minutes?
And also,
he's so obviously alive.
And also, we don't know what Denny's actually doing with this guy because he says so basically, this guy, Chris R, pulls a gun out in Denny, right? And it's like, I don't have 5 fucking minutes, Denny. Somehow holds the gun to him. It's a massive tone shift. You were like, what is going on? Denny's screaming, and suddenly we get the most interruptive shot cutting back to Tommy Wiseau, Johnny and Mike and Greg. Mark. Johnny and Mark come up the stairs looking shocked out of this little corrugated iron shed, which is meant to be the staircase. They come out, look shocked, tackle him, get the gun off him, and then hold him up as suddenly Lisa and Claudette are also there, showing up on the roof like, what's going on? It's edited so it's like
making
a comedy.
It like the third time Claudette has appeared today.
Man.
She's like the mother-in-law from hell. Yeah, she literally will not stop like bothering them.
But like, not only do they disarm him, but what's his name? Mark holds the gun to Chris R's head. It's like, we're gonna get you. And this is when Greg Sestero was saying stuff like, yeah, this is how I justified him doing that, because he's a vice cop. He's an undercover cop or something like that.
Aye.
So they get Chris R downstairs, apparently, and then we just get Denny gets berated by
genuinely
Lisa and
maybe
Claudette.
my favourite scene, because they just scream at each other. And again, it's this whole thing where I think you've covered it a lot, where they're clearly just filming the same scene over and over again, and Tommy doesn't know which lines he likes the best, so he can't shorten it. So they're just kind of going like, who was that guy? I don't know. What are you doing? I don't know. Just for fucking, it feels like years.
It feels like so long, like days pass. Like literally, we start off in San Francisco in the background for that scene, and by the time we're done, we've moved space and time to fucking Istanbul or something.
Because she keeps repeating, like, what kind of money? What kind of money? And I'm
What
like,
kind of drugs, Denny? And like, it's
no.
What kind of money?
What kind of money? And I'm like, surely you would ask how much money?
Yeah.
But like,
What kind
like
of money?
dollars? Like, are you asking about the
What
currency?
currency?
Like, I don't owe him like yen. Like,
That's so true. Again, slightly
just
off.
slightly off.
Slightly odd, and it just makes it so bizarre.
you're right though about this green screen. It is
Yeah.
like,
Insane.
because on one side, when you're looking at the shed, it's San
The
Francisco.
staircase, yeah,
The
San
staircase,
Francisco.
yeah,
And you're like, oh,
it's-
that's very clearly, that's quite
That's the
accurate to what the street that we saw in Parkinson was, right? But then the background of it,
It's like,
I said it was like Tatooine.
it looks like one of the sand planets from Star Wars. But it genuinely looks like Istanbul, it looks like the Middle East, it looks
got
like...
kind of steampunky.
Yeah, it's also got
fantasy
steampunk going on.
vibe,
Yeah, like, where? It's a tower. There's like Denny's Towers over there, apparently. I don't know
The
what's going
balcony
on.
looks like it's floating. Like it doesn't even look like it's
Oh
attached
yeah,
to a
because this is
building.
the thing. They actually had a real balcony that they could shoot on, which I think we maybe go to later. We were debating that last night. But Tommy was like, nah, man, in Hollywood, everything's a set. So they made a set with a terrible green screen. It's meant to be this high-end apartment that has a corrugated iron roof. And then, like, the joints of the corner of the balcony don't line up because it's clearly a set and it's not. It's San Francisco one side, Istanbul the other. It's mind-bending. And Chris R, who the fuck is he?
why is he Chris R?
Why is he Chris R? Well, partly the actor, everyone admits that he has the best performance because he method acted the whole thing. He was on set for 2 days because we saw the deleted scene. The deleted scene is actually that film filmed again in that shitty, or that scene filmed again in that shitty alleyway. And Chris R is giving it even more big licks with the acting. But apparently he was in character the whole time. He just stayed in character as a raging maniac.
Love the idea of this actor who plays Chris R just cutting about and fucking shoving Denny behind the scenes, just going
He's like
over and
6
like
years younger than him, but he's beating him up.
just fucking punching him in the stomach, giving him like
Noogies,
Aye.
fucking giving him wedgies, kicking him down the staircase, tripping him up, putting slap me on his
Shooting
back, shooting him, going, hey Denny, want to practice the scene with you? Yeah, yeah.
shooting him with a
Slap him.
fucking BB gun.
Man, again, the implied narratives are nuts.
Oh my god.
But anyway, this ends. Oh well, Denny's just ridiculous. He's so irritated in this scene. They're all irritated, and it just ends with like Johnny just going, "You could have been killed." He's trying really hard to be sad. He's like, "Denny, we love you," and it's like you can see the pain on his face, and it doesn't quite communicate as real, but it feels you can feel the burden of Denny to Johnny, and then he just goes, "Let's go home," as if they're not home. As if this isn't their apartment. As if this isn't their roof.
Also, again, this never gets covered. Never.
Never go back
There's
to
never
Chris R.
any kind of like alluding to the fact that Denny's, takes drugs in any way.
That's what I mean. Is he taking them? Is he selling them? That's what Claudette
Aye.
asks him. And he's like, it doesn't matter. 'Cause nothing matters in this film, man.
Man, it's just like you even see somebody in this film smoking a joint at some point. So if Mark can smoke a joint, why can't Denny smoke a joint? Given that he's apparently buying drugs.
To do something with.
For what?
What did he do with
Is
them?
it for his cake? Is he making brownies? Is that why he needed all that shit?
Oh my god! Or did he have the munchies? Is that what it was trying to like?
Was he trying to make brownies for Johnny's birthday party and then just totally fucked it? Burnt them all, lost the money, didn't have the weed, couldn't ask people for money because he didn't have anything. I don't know, man. It's wild. But anyway, we don't have enough time for that because we've got another balcony scene. We've got a couple of transitionary shots of San Francisco. Don't know if a day's passed, don't know. But it's something we're going to address the hitting claim, apparently. Because Tommy comes out, Johnny comes out and goes, and the famous line It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not.
It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
And then after that, we get a wild tone shift to talking about Lisa's claim of hitting her. And then we fucking whiplash over to talking about infidelity. Mark talking about, do women like to cheat like guys do? And then Mark telling a very dark story about a woman getting beaten up by some guys she was cheating on. And then Johnny laughs at this. And it's just... oh my god, you don't know where you're coming or going. Like the story, like this plot point feels like it should have been before Chris R.
Yeah.
But
also, no one, like, there's not been a scene where Lisa's confronted him or Lisa's mum has confronted him. Like, we just find out with him kind of like muttering to himself about it as he comes out of the stairs.
How did he find out? How did he find out?
Fuck knows.
And why does he never really bring it up with her? Or does he?
Yes, he does. He does.
Okay.
Back to this, we're still in this balcony scene, right? It's looks like Istanbul, looks like San Francisco, looks like Tatooine, don't know where the hell we are. Apparently when some of these line deliveries, like Johnny's reaction to the terrible story about the girl getting beaten up, he laughs at it. Apparently the crew were so horrified, and Tommy Wiseau insisted that it had to be done that way. It had to be that. Don't know why. He just wouldn't refuse. He refused to do it and play it in any other way because they thought it'd be like oh, what a story, Mark. Instead of, what a story, Mark. Inexplicable. But with this scene, Mark then has a misogynistic rant about women, and he's like, they're terrible. Some of them are stupid, some are flat out boring, and some are too smart for you. And it's like, man, fucking settle. And Johnny's very on the nose with, you're my best friend, Mark. And I love Lisa so much. Because he's like, I've done something bad. He's just like, yeah. Like, Tommy Wiseau's way of doing dramatic irony is to literally have the character just look at you with a knowing expression of, I know. It's like, you're my best friend, man. And I love her. Who are you having an affair with? You know what I mean? It's like it's so uncanny and it's brilliant. It really draws attention to the artifice of dramatic irony, which is, the audience knows something the characters don't. Again, brilliant. So Denny enters, sure he does. Like, Mark's left, Denny enters, Denny says he loves Lisa. Okay, cool. Johnny listens and accepts Denny's feelings. This is us really getting showing Tommy Wiseau's character Johnny as a father figure. And this is genuinely, we get a really cool, nice distillation of love. People don't have to say it. They can feel it. It's simple, but it's kind of true.
Yeah.
I don't know. I at this point, it's enchanting
I think he
me.
should tell adult 35-year-old Denny to get fucked and stop hitting on his fucking fiance.
I agree. This is what happens. So he goes, look, Lisa loves you too as a human being. Sorry, Tommy. As a human being, blah, 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 blah. You don't love her like that. She's more like a mother to you. You're more like a son. I'm like your dad. Let's not do this. And he's like, okay. And he goes, and Johnny goes, what about Betty? What was her name? That girl, Betty. And fucking Denny walks over.
Sits with that for like
he sits with
half a second.
Looks over Tatooine, has a little thought, and turns around and goes, I love her. I love Betty. Once I graduate, I'm going to marry her. And we're going to have lots of babies. And then Johnny goes, that's the idea. Let's go home. And then they just go downstairs again.
But see, to be fair, how many guys do we know that are like that?
Yeah.
Again, right? It's so bizarre, but then it's also...
Oh, the love of my life. This is so tragic. What about her?
Oh, I love her.
Oh, yeah, no, she'd be great too.
Hey, she's my wife. She's my future wife. Lisa's the one that got away. She's my future wife. It's just like...
Do you know what? It's all adding up. It's fine. Moving on.
Again, is it me?
Aye, a wee bit.
Are you everyone?
No, I am multitudes. I am Denny. No, I'm not. But anyway, so they go away, apparently to go eat. Let's go eat, huh? Chirpy music. Cut to Lisa and Michelle are hanging in the room drinking wine. Lisa says, Johnny got drunk last night and hit me. It wasn't last night. It's been days.
I think. Unless she's claiming again.
Oh, but we've had nothing to assume that he's drank again, because she's like, he got drunk and hit me last night. So again, how is it only one day? Time doesn't make sense. We've collapsed into ourselves here. Lisa then tells her that she loves Mark, who also, as we find out for the first time, lives in this weird building. Again, why don't we just shag at his place? Don't know. But Michelle actually shows a bit of moral fibre, and she's like, hey, this isn't cool. Giggle, giggle. Don't do this, though. You're going to break Johnny's heart. And she starts to leave as Johnny enters. Now, we notice for the first time, and I'm very happy what he did, as Johnny is entering, he picks up a newspaper from outside. Not from outside his flat, from out in the street. Might not even be his newspaper, but he takes it.
Also, we interrupt the scene to see this. It's not as if like you can see him out the window. Like we cut from where we are currently to this.
Him picking up the newspaper, right?
Do you think it's significant? Okay. Is there going to be a headline?
Yeah, what's going on? Oh, something about the bank. Look, I got the bank. Or anything. No, he comes in without...
Something about Chris R.
He comes out... Something about Chris R, but he comes in without the newspaper. He enters the room...
We did a bet. You were like... because
we paused it.
I think Cammy was like, I don't think he has that newspaper when he walks in, and then you were like, let's take let's take a bet. Who thinks he's got it? Half room was split. Didn't have it.
Who said... Who?
I said he didn't have it.
You both said he didn't.
So you
Cam and I were like,
said he did.
yeah, no, he must have it. It can't be that bad. Nope, he doesn't have it. He just comes in without it.
Why?
Why was that there? But anyway, Michelle's kind of like, don't keep secrets, as she leaves, like very obviously going, hey, don't keep secrets from people important to you. Hey, Johnny, then leaves. So Johnny confronts Lisa, finally, about her lies of him hitting her and her secrets. Finally doing this. Somehow the time warp has taken him a long time to get through this. We had to filter out some other people's dreams or whatever, and Chris R showing up on set in character. We had to get that filmed apparently and then put in there. Anyway, she then says, women change their minds all the time. And he laughs. He just goes, you must be joking. And she goes, I need to go to bed. And he just shoves her on the bed, on the couch. And is like, how dare you talk to me like that? Do you understand life? And it's like, man, see if I'm ever in a situation where Tommy Wiseau is bearing down on me saying, do you understand life? I've done something wrong. And something very, very fucking right. But this builds up to the famous line, you are tearing me apart, Lisa.
Oh, you are tearing me apart, Lisa.
Which is actually a direct quote. Not Lisa, but the tear me apart is from a James Dean film called Giant, where James Dean does the exact same thing, going, you're tearing me apart. Tommy Wiseau loved James Dean. Because this is the thing, Tommy Wiseau's, we don't know exactly where he's from, Eastern Bloc country, so somewhere Soviet control, and his main freedom of expression or way of finding joy in life, apparently at a young age, from what he's told Greg, is he would collect movie posters, or he'd try and sneak into movie theatres. He'd work up for dodgy characters in different towns, save up money to go and see cinema. So him throwing in a James Dean clip makes complete sense. And then we come to one of our favourite scenes. Oh, what were you going to say? Sorry.
Just before you move on.
Yeah.
He walks in though, and he to this scene with him and Michelle talking, and he walks in and he's like, did you get a new dress? No one in the scene is wearing a dress.
Oh yeah.
Like she's literally wearing jeans and a top.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What is he talking about?
Yeah, and it's like,
and it's dubbed over, so he chose to put it in.
Chose to add that in.
Add that in post, watching it, knowing that nobody is wearing a dress.
No, I don't think he knows what a dress is. And it's also like, why are you not dressed differently? You're still wearing that fucking scabby suit, man. Can you wear a dress? Or dress properly, man? Jesus Christ. But now, very astute observation. Absolutely, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But don't have time to think, because we come to one of the most bizarre scenes in the film that you and I love, the first alleyway sequence.
All right, okay, yeah. Before that, I think he says, you're tearing me apart, Lisa, and I think she's just like, yeah, it'll be okay. Love you.
Yeah, that's what it is. Sorry.
Good night.
I should say that, yeah. Tear me apart, Lisa. She's like, he goes, I still love you. And she goes up to bed. It's like, I can't talk to you right now. It's like, man, that was your perfect time to just say, hey, man, listen, it's not working out.
But she basically starts saying that, and he's like, my fucking world is crumbling around me. And she walks up the stairs after just being like, yeah, are you sure? He's like, we're going to get married. And she's like, are you sure? And then she goes up the stairs and he's like, this is horrible. Everything's horrible. And she's like, everything's going to be fine. I was like, what are you doing?
I know.
Just say you don't like him.
Hey, just be honest with the guy. Like, at this stage, it's kind of cruel. Unfair. But anyway, first alleyway scene. So this alleyway scene, again, this was Tommy Wiseau's insistence that they film on sets. So they apparently had a really good alleyway to use when they were doing their LA shoots, where they were getting the equipment, or doing a lot of the post production. But again, Tommy was like, "Nah, man, Hollywood, we're going to make a set." So they make this really shitty alleyway set that's too small. Like, so everyone has to be cramped in, and it's
You can't have 3 actors in the same shot.
4.
It's that small.
4 actors. There's 4 actors on.
I know, but the 3
Yeah, three's
3 at first, and you can only fit 2.
2's company and 3's a crowd. Yeah. So Johnny just walks on to the set. Don't know what he's doing. He's just in this bizarre alleyway without his jacket. And then Mike shows up. And Mike just...
They all meet in the alleyway, like, by accident, though. It's not like they've all planned to come into the alleyway, because they all keep just appearing and being like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" It's like,
Wait, who's Mike?
So Mike's the blowjob...
gouchy blowjob guy.
fetish guy.
Okay.
So Mike shows up and then just inexplicably just tells the exact scene that we just saw about 10-15 minutes ago of him with the underwear and Claudette finding the underwear. He just explains it, and he's like, "Yeah, we were shagging at your place," and Tommy's like, "Cool, man." Oh, and then he tells the story and he goes, "Oh yeah, underwear, I get the picture. That's life."
Yeah.
And then Mark and Denny show up.
Me underwears.
That's when we get him saying me again, weird line deliveries from everyone. It's not just Tommy Wiseau giving the
he
weird...
could be a rogue too.
Yeah, Mike
Could be a rogue.
describes his underwears as me underwears. And it's, again, his weird acting, over the top. Anyway,
Still doing so much with his face.
it's too much with his face. And then Denny and Mark show up and they play terrible, like, short pass football with each other in this small set. It's like, yeah.
It's like if we were playing football
honestly.
right here.
Honestly, this is
This is the
bigger than the
set.
alleyway set.
Oh my god, the set we have here is bigger than the alleyway set they had for The Room, which was a multi-million pound production. Which is
And was also
insane.
meant to be big enough to play football in.
Yeah.
That was the sole purpose of that set,
Yeah.
was for them to play football in.
What's even funnier?
What happened to fields? What happened to open spaces?
They do play football in open spaces, and they also play football in a real alleyway.
That's what I was going to say. They actually clearly went, this
And
didn't
this
work.
fake one.
They clearly went, this alleyway scene didn't work. Let's do another one. But anyway.
I loved it. Like, again, when we watched the Tommy Wiseau thing, he was like, "Yeah, I hate the idea when I watch other films, actors are so stiff," and I'm like, this was like my reaction, like spitting out the coffee when Swanny said that the first half of Point Break they were really holding back. I was like, Tommy Wiseau's complaint about other films is that actors are too stiff, and he's like, so I like to, mix things up. I like to throw in something there, like maybe they come on and they're playing football. I was like, maybe they come on and they're playing football. You just have characters constantly going home or playing football,
All
like
the
in a
time.
constant state
It's
of
nuts.
motion, but without any variety.
Aye. So they start playing terrible short pass football in this too small set, and and then for some reason, Mark just starts asking Mike, "Oh, so what's this here about you and underwear and Claudette?" And then he just fucking full on tackles Mike. Just he's right next to him. He's like, what? And then just like grapples him. It'd be as if I was talking to you and I just barreled into you across the room.
They are closer to each other.
No, that's you two.
Wait, so was that a tackle?
I don't know what it was.
I thought
don't
he
know
was
what
like
it-
kind of like nudging him, like
I think
and then
he's
tripped,
nudging him
and
because he kind of goes, he overhears a bit of it. And Mark's like, what did you say about underwears? And he's like, I don't really want to talk about it, man. And he was like, underwear, what's that? Come on. And then goes like this and goes to like, do a wee playful shove. And then
That's what I mean. I think
Mike gets fucking devastated in these metal bins and falls over to the extent that every other character in the scene's like, oh my God, should we take him to hospital? Is he okay? They're all helping him up.
Yeah, and Mike's like,
And he's like,
yeah, his eyes are crossing. He can't see where he's looking. It's like, what happened? That's what I mean, man. It's like, that's what I mean. It's like, he did try and do a little tap of like, a little playful shrug, and then just full on went, oh, press the wrong button and tackled the
One
guy.
Punch Man.
It feels like a video game at that point as well.
It does feel like The Sims again. That's how a Sim would react. If they knocked their head, they would be all like,
Or they'd be saying, me underwears, translated. But yeah, so that happens. And it just ends with like Tommy going, "Hey Mike, make sure you get home okay. Call me if you need anything, man." Then Mark walks off with him, and then Denny just looks at Tommy or to Johnny, and Johnny just goes, "Let's go home." It's like, man, What is happening?
Why is everyone always going home? Why does every
happen.
scene end with someone declaring that they're going home?
I want to go home.
Well, no, we're in the room. Let's keep going. So we cut to Claudette and Lisa once again entering the room. Once again, bingo, ding, 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 ding. Claudette and Lisa are entering the fucking room.
Just as pissed as fucking Lisa and Tommy were earlier.
I know. Claudette starts bitching that, again, another implied narrative, that Johnny won't buy her pal Shirley Hamilton a house.
This is
She's
absolutely outrageous.
she's like,
Why
oh.
does Shirley Hamilton get a name check as well?
But she's just like, Claudette's just like, oh, I expected your future husband to be a little bit more gracious and accommodating. And it's like,
Because he won't help his fiance's mother's pal with a down payment on a new house that she wants to
a month
buy.
before the wedding.
A month before the wedding. Why?
After he didn't get a promotion.
Why is Johnny? Why is Johnny just Billy Big Bucks? Why is he Big Daddy benefactor to everyone?
He is a banker, and the flat they live in is not that big.
He can't even afford
it's
a
really
suit that
small,
fits him.
actually.
He has a corrugated iron rooftop.
It's not that good a flat.
It's one room.
It's
It's a studio. It's a fucking 2-floor studio, and he's a banker.
no bed.
He's not a millionaire. He's not a fucking entrepreneur. He's not made a fucking app or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
He has an adult child ward and like so many pals that just
Pay for
use
it,
his house to shag in because apparently they don't have anywhere else to go do
I'm
that.
so off.
Why would he be paying for Shirley Hamilton's deposit?
So
Who the
again,
fuck is Shirley
And why
Hamilton?
is she, who is like, he's the most generous man alive, don't ever leave him? This is why she's, obviously this is something he's done in the past. Of course she's like, you can't move back in with me, and also I want your husband man to pay for everything in my life, including my pals' deposits in their house. Oh my God.
it's ridiculous and it goes nowhere. Another plot thread that goes nowhere. So as we go through it, we're going to get a lot of repetition as we continue, a lot of repetition of characters talking about the same shit and not developing it. So once again, Lisa, or our mum says, they just ignore each other. So the mum says, I'm tired. I'm very tired today. She's like, eh. So Lisa goes and then tells her mum that she's having an affair, and she's like, eh. And then Johnny is actually listening on the staircase, which is apparently something Tom Wiseau did when he was pretending to be sleeping in before going to set. Like Greg talks about in the book that he would sit there and be like, oh well, we're meant to be in set 2 hours ago, but Tommy's asleep, quote unquote. So I'm just going to watch this film on my DVD player, and he'd noticed that Tommy was behind him in the staircase, looking down, watching the film at the same time as him, then going back to bed pretending that he was ill.
That's so
Oh my
funny
God,
because I was just about to say, why the fuck is he crouched in the stairwell before they start having an illicit conversation about her affair? Like he's just like spying on his own fiance and
How
her
did she not
mother
know he was in?
having a banal conversation.
How did she not know he was in? What has he climbed up the drain pipe? Well, again,
Because most people, when you walk into a house that's one room, announce themselves when
well, this is the thing. There's also starts to become inconsistency at this point in the film.
Oh, now there starts to be
A
inconsistencies.
specific inconsistency begins where people start entering the room from outside from different doors. And so
Aren't the front door.
yeah, that isn't the front door that's been established. So anyway, he's listening. They leave. Of course they do. They fucking-
Claudette has to go home.
She has to go home. She's like, if you think I'm
go.
tired today, wait until you see me tomorrow. And it's like, all right, mum, bye. Hope the cancer's doing okay. No, doesn't get brought up. So, despite getting evidence that she's having an affair, he decides, you know what, I'm going to record her. And we get a very long sequence of him like putting a cassette tape onto the phone and plugging it in, and it takes about a good 3 or 4 minutes of the time, and it's just a very stupid plot line that goes nowhere because he already knows.
He's heard her
He's
say
heard her
it.
say I'm having an affair. So that's it.
So you could think, okay.
I wonder who it is.
He's probably recording it so that if she denies it, he can be like, "Here's you on the phone talking about it." You would think, but go on.
Go on, we'll continue. We'll get
But
back to
also,
that.
can I just check,
Yeah.
in your opinion,
Yeah.
how long do you think it is between this scene and the final scene of the film?
2 hours or 2 years?
Aye.
I don't fucking know. Like a week, 5 days. I've no
I'm pretty
fucking
sure.
idea.
No idea because he still keeps saying it's a month to the wedding. Like even by the end
So
of
it's
it.
all happening in a day. It's all of this happening in a day.
It's all just a fever dream. Anyway, So then we cut to a new character getting introduced. This is when we meet Peter. Peter, the psychologist pal, who's actually giving a half-decent performance, considering what we're working with here.
Grading
right?
on a curve.
Grading on a curve. So he's a psychologist, so Johnny's asking him for advice. And then immediately he's later like, stop playing psychologist with us. It's very bizarre. But he tells him, I have a serious problem with Lisa. Johnny says, Peter, I need your help. I think Lisa is unfaithful. And Peter's like, Lisa? I don't know, man. Maybe not. And then the doorbell rings, and Peter immediately is just like, did you hear the doorbell?
The doorbell is still ringing. They're sitting as close as me and Claude are to each other. The doorbell rings and he's like, did you hear that? Aye, man, it's still going. Like, what the fuck? Also, do you know what my overarching feeling watching this scene was relief. Because it was the first time I felt like in this entire film that something happened in the scene before and the preceding scene
made direct
picked up
sense
from where that one left off.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
And look, you can clearly tell in this scene as well that they've changed like director of photography, the guy who's actually shooting it, because we actually start getting some good shots. Like we have shots of like Peter, like of Johnny looking really confused and Peter leaning on like the fireplace behind him going, listen man, and then drinking. It actually looks like a film, which is pretty good and impressive. But anyway, Mark is the one at the door, and he shows up, and he immediately starts talking about his complicated relationship, but he won't say who it is. And we basically just get a bunch of chat of people kind of talking over each other, not really answering or continuing the thread of conversation. Kind of like our podcast, but someone with less direction. So Johnny's like, oh, why won't you tell me who she is? Is it because she's too old or you think I'd take her from you? And it's like, okay. And then Mark just goes, yeah, I'm making a lot of money these days. And Johnny asks oh, are you getting involved in the fun run this year? And then they laugh in a really mean-spirited way about other contestants in this fun run before. And they talk about how good the food is. Like, oh yeah, the chicken and rice. Oh, that barbecue was great. And then Peter calls them weird. And then they start going, oh, Peter, you're just a little chicken. Cheap, 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 cheap. And we're fully off the rails. We're fully going somewhere.
What is this about? Rice, isn't that what's cool? What?
And then, as I say, really mean-spirited stuff like, oh yeah, did you see that woman that was like, well, will you marry me? I think I'd take her up on it. No. It's like, what are we doing, guys? And then they're like, oh, do you want to hang out more and do something else? And he's like, I can't. I expect Lisa any minute. Like, he says it with such a weird air of confidence, and
he offers to play cards with them and then says that. Then right afterwards he's like, do you guys want some food?
Yeah, right.
So apparently he's got time to make food but not have a game of cards with him because Lisa's coming round.
So then Lisa shows up and Johnny's on the way to make food, and then Mark and Peter are like, well, patch that. A little bit of flirting between Mark and Lisa, and then Mark and Peter just leave.
Without saying goodbye.
Without saying goodbye to Johnny, who's apparently making food. But then Denny just creeps in, and him and Lisa crouch down behind the couch at the doorway and have a conversation about I don't know what they talk about. I think they just talk about their same things again.
If this was The Sims 2, Johnny would accidentally leave the food in the oven for like more than 3 seconds and we'd be in flames running about, all because they left without saying goodbye.
So yeah, but they have this long conversation where they just repeat the same things that they've always said.
Yeah.
And between Denny and Lisa hiding behind this couch, and Johnny just doesn't come back. Don't know what, he's locked himself in the room or something. The door's been taken off, so now he's stuck in the kitchen with a burning stove, a la my Sims 1 playthrough. Took the door away and killed my guy. Didn't realise that could happen. It was very distressing when I was young. Suddenly, we're on the roof.
Can't believe you're old enough that you played The Sims 1.
I know. I was very young though.
S Club Senior over here.
I'm 29 years plus 45. Shite.
45 what?
Years.
Oh.
Okay.
Don't know. This film's
4.
frying my brain. Okay, can we cut that? That was very shocking. I was honestly a 1 out of 10 bet that went nowhere. Anyway, we cut to Mark and Peter are on the rooftop. They don't have a home to go to. They're just going to go on the roof again. Again, we're back in Istanbul, Tatooine, slash steampunk fantasy world, whatever.
San Francisco.
That's yeah. One side San Francisco, always the same side, which is at least consistent on their part. And Mark's sitting there in his denim jeans, denim jacket, and he's just smoking a joint. His little box, he's got his little weed box, like sitting up on the. And I loved it. I was just like, this is such a funny attention to detail. And he's just such a dick.
That the rest of the film doesn't have.
Yeah, because Peter's just like, what are you doing? What are you up to? And he goes, do you want some? It's good, bro. And it's like, you've never said bro ever. You're such a poser, Mark. And then he starts just sitting there. And then Peter's like, you look depressed, man. And Mark's just like, I did something really bad, man. And the music starts very Lynchian, starts coming in like this undercurrent string of like, He's like, I did something bad. It's going to be bad. Something terrible is going to happen. I can just feel it. And he's like, why are you smoking that stuff, man? Peter's like, why are you smoking that stuff? Like, it's messing with your head. And he's like, shut up, Peter. Keep your stupid comments in your pocket. I don't think he says that then, but he does say that effectively. And then Peter goes, hey, I think you're having an affair with Lisa. And Mark's like, what? And the music peaks. And he grabs Peter and tries to shove him over the edge of the balcony.
Off the building.
Off the building. To his death.
Push him off a roof.
Tone shift. He's like properly struggling and going
Is
for
this
it.
what Tommy thinks drugs do?
I think so.
Is that what he thinks a puff of weed does? It just makes people murderers.
Yeah, so this is also Mark and Greg still talking about like that. Oh yeah, this is me. Like, I'm in the middle of a terrible case and I'm having this affair and I'm smoking, trying to calm down. Suddenly the psychologist is telling me, so I just freak out and grab him. I'm a cop on the rails. The film doesn't tell you
God
that.
love him that he was trying that hard, man. That's a wee sin.
Because what were you going to say?
I was going to say that this is also where like he's like looking forlornly off the side of the thing. I can't remember if this is right before or right after. It doesn't honestly matter. That he tries to throw Peter off the balcony, but he's like smoking and he's looking out and he's like, yeah, I'm thinking about killing myself or something like that.
It's crazy. Killing myself.
Yeah, or something like that. I'm like, what do you mean or something like that?
Well, I guess-
What is akin? Like,
I guess killing him, trying to kill Peter.
but it's like he just says it so casually as if like I'm workshopping ideas. I don't know. I'm not quite settled on something yet, but something that dramatic. It's gonna be big.
He's clearly workshopping his fucking lines here.
It's just god.
But so that happens. Tries to kill. This crazy thing that he tries to do is tries to kill Peter, and then he goes, "Oh, sorry about that." And Peter's like, "Oh, it's fine."
In the most nonchalant way ever.
never brought
He's
up
literally
again.
like, and then he's just like, sorry, man.
And he's like, "Yeah, it's fine. Don't mention it. Bit cringe. Let's move on."
He basically just goes, sorry, that's a bit much for me.
Yeah, I took that a wee bit too far.
like him.
Taking something too far. And going, that wasn't funny. I'm sorry.
sorry, Peter, that was a 4.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't, Peter.
Sorry, man. So, after that, we then come to the infamous tuxedo and football scene. So this scene just comes out of nowhere. Like most of the scenes in this film. This one especially has no purpose. You have...
Zero purpose. You have our lovely Peter, you've got Mark, you've got Denny, you've got Tommy. Johnny. They're all wearing tuxes as if they're going somewhere. Mm-hmm. And we have alluded to a wedding and a birthday party so far.
It's got to be one of these.
It's got to be one of these, right? And then they decide to go out and they're like trying to convince Peter, like, oh, come on, just come play football, man, come be cool. And he's like, I don't want to play football. And they're like,
Cheap.
Yeah, Yep. And then eventually he's like, fine. So they go out into an alleyway, a real alleyway this time, not the set.
actual one that they always had access to.
Throw a ball to each other and they're like, wow, guys, this is fun. And then Peter falls over.
Everyone crams to get in shot to help him up. And then they go home.
And then they all go
Because
home.
of course.
Because of course they do. The room draws them back.
And
it
then-
pushes
and
you
then-
away and it draws you
And
back
then you're
in.
like, okay, they're probably going to be in tuxes maybe in the evening going to this party. Nope. No, they're not.
We
Don't know why they're in tuxes.
We immediately just cut.
No fucking idea. They've all got together wearing tuxes.
So this scene was actually improvised, clearly. Like, apparently... So, because also I should
Well,
point
it
out...
can't have been because they bought tuxes for it. So it wasn't improvised.
Let me get to this. This is the point. The whole reason that this scene was written is because Greg was normally... The actor who plays Mark was normally clean-shaven, right? And Tommy Wiseau always called him Babyface because he looked so young. And Greg very deliberately grew a beard for this role so he could distance himself from it. Like, if he had to, like, to get other work. But Tommy said to him, I need you to shave your beard for this sequence. We're going to all show up in tuxes and play football outside. And he was like, why? Why do I need to shave my beard? I thought it was like a modelling thing like he had in our contract. That's what I said last night. Nah. Tommy was just like, no, I want to do that. And Greg reckons it's just so he could call Mark babyface in the film like he does to him in real life. Because as soon as Mark comes in with this clean-shaven look, fucking, what's his name? Johnny just goes, you look like a baby face. But he mumbles it. He's overdubbed everything and he mumbles that one. And then that's just the scene. They just came up with it. Apparently, he made
They came up with it.
He just came up with it on set. No,
Came up with what?
No,
There is no.
But
Like
he prioritised filming this over other scenes that were crucial to the plot. Like scenes that involved Peter, who, guess what, is only here for 2 weeks on set and says, hey guys, I've got quite a big part here. Are you sure we can get it done in time? And he's like, yeah. They film an extra scene with Peter and then don't actually film him in the final penultimate scenes. And Peter gets recast.
halfway through a film.
It's fucking bonkers that this scene exists.
Peter's only been in like 3 scenes as well.
But I like to think that the whole sharing of Mark is symbolic for us starting to finally unmask the villain that is Mark. And so with that in mind, we then cut to some more B-roll of Tommy. Or just B-roll of the city, and then Tommy just walks straight through it, and you're like, oh, this wasn't B-roll. They just went out and filmed in San Francisco. They filmed in LA on sets, which was a nightmare. Then they filmed in San Francisco in real locations, and apparently it went really well. So that's strange. Crew changed about 3 times at this point, though. 3 or 4 different DPs.
Peter was the cameraman for all the B-roll. They shot all of his actual scenes in one day.
Oh yeah, I'm actually free right now. Can we film it now, man? Tommy's actually down by the fountain again. So he's trying to get that just perfect. And then we cut to a coffee shop scene. This fucking coffee shop scene. So we start with multiple customers just giving their orders.
Their entire orders. 3 different couples
4.
come in
Yeah.
and go like, oh, can I get a coffee and I'll have a cafe
Bagel.
macchiato. Can I get this and that? Blah, blah, blah. And then Tommy comes in and orders a hot chocolate.
Greg orders a mint tea. It's like, what are you guys doing? Like, you must be taking the piss. You have to be taking the piss. Because everyone else has such a cold interaction with the barista. And then they come and it's like, oh, Tommy, yes, you're here. And he's like, yeah, I'll have my hot chocolate. Woohoo.
Tommy is a regular everywhere.
Yeah, he is an
He is the
everyman.
florist's
Everywhere
favourite customer.
Everywhere he walks, he hears the Cheers theme song.
He's been played by Greg from his phone. So, anyway, they sit down, the order's weird, the vibe is weird, we're outside again for some reason, and this is just when they agree to a park hang at 6:30, and that's very important for some reason because 6:30 lasts forever in this next sequence. And then he goes, yeah, oh great, yeah, my work's okay. Johnny's like, oh, my work's okay, but how's your sex life? And then was it Greg's or Mark is immediately just like, nah, nothing. Again, nothing gets developed, nothing gets explored. We just know it's the same thing. We know that they're bursting at the seams to have this revelation, but they can't do it yet, but they don't know how to talk around it. So suddenly Mark just says, I need to go. Oh no, Tommy says, they both say they need to go. They've just got their drinks. They take their drinks and go. Whatever.
They don't take their drinks.
Do you know why?
They leave their drinks.
Do you know what happens after this? We get our 4th sex scene. 1 hour and 3 minutes into the film, we suddenly cut to Greg, Mark, and Lisa shagging in the bed this time. Not on the staircase, in the bed. They have another sex scene with jeans on, and it's terrible. And then we have a Golden Gate Bridge tracking shot. So at this point, there's not any new information that's getting communicated.
You may have think that you accidentally skipped to an earlier part of this podcast listening to Swanny talk right now, but no, it's just all happening again.
Yeah, so
No wonder everyone wants to go home all the time, because every time they go home, they instantly get laid.
Yeah. So it's right. I've just the next few scenes are there's a lot of talking,
Yeah.
but it's the same thing. And I'm just going to blast through what these scenes are to get us to the main one where actual developments happen, which is the party scene. So we have the Golden Gate Bridge tracking shot from one side to the other. The audience goes mental at this point, goes, go, go, go. It takes like a minute to get across. Then we get a 6:30 hang at the park sequence where they start throwing this football and running about the park. Again, this is apparently happening in the same day that they're working, and he's gone back and shagged Lisa, and then they're back at the park, and then Lisa and Mark get caught shagging.
Oh,
By Michelle. No, sorry. They go to shag again. We're about to get a 5th fucking sex scene. And I'm literally I'm about to freak out. I'm like, oh my God, how are we doing this? We can't be doing this. We can't be doing no, this is insane. And then Michelle shows up and then scolds them both. Mark takes ages to get dressed, even though there's someone at the door. Lisa lets her in, and then Michelle and Lisa start setting up the party. Okay, but then we go back across the Golden Gate Bridge, and Mark and Johnny are still running about in the park. Okay, time doesn't exist. Time is a construct, so we could get to the room, so you could see the non-linearity of our lives. And then Johnny leaves, saying goodbye. We then cut back to Lisa as Claudette shows up, and Lisa says, I'm fixing the place for Johnny's birthday, but I'm really not into it. It's like, what were you just doing with Michelle? I thought you'd already done this. What? Where are we? They repeat the same conversation that they always do. And guess what happens next? Claudette leaves. And then Johnny walks at night through the city and arrives, finally, at the party scene.
Abby kept, as we were watching it, being like, oh, is this the party scene? And we were just like, nah, man, the party scene's not for another fucking hour.
It's absolutely unhinged. I was like, oh, we're here for the big finale, only 20 minutes left. And you're like, 20 minutes left? What's happened? What's this film about? And I'm like, let's go. So,
oh my God.
Right, at this party scene, a lot happens, but I've kind of broken it down into little bullet points. It's almost like a party. The room presents big party sequence finale, including such highlights as weird music, weird food. Like the music's like this weird doobie 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 that we've not had anywhere else. Right, the food we've paused it several times. Broccoli. So there's a dip.
Yeah, right. So there's like 2 plates. Right, there's a plate of pretzels. Fine. There's a kind of mixed dish, and then there's a large hunk of meat with a little tiny bowl of salsa in it, surrounded by sticks of celery.
Yeah, like stuck in it. I don't know if it's hummus or if it's meat.
It is not hummus. It is huge. It's a mound, man. It's like fucking this high.
Did you mention the radish?
No, I'm getting to it.
Oh, sorry.
So now you've got the mixed dish, and it's got the more celery, raw carrots, whole radishes, fucking question mark. It looks like it could be pretzels, but I don't fucking know.
And also there's a bowl of pretzels next to it, so it makes me think it's not pretzels because it's slightly different colour. Maybe it's cheesy pretzel. I don't know what the fuck it is.
And there's sour cream in the middle. But this is meant for a party of what seems like at least 20 folk, and it's not enough. You can't actually count how many people are there because, as you said earlier, like The Sims, you can just tell people to go outside or come inside. And that happens a few times. Lisa calls people in and out 3 times, and everyone leaves, and we watch as everyone walks out of this room. So I was going to pause it and count it. Again, Tommy has never been to a party before. Doesn't realise how difficult it is to get people out of your fucking house when they have drank too much.
So more highlights include weird acting. Of course, food fetish guys are there eating cake off each other and getting hard, apparently.
Oh my God, that little sad cake as well that would like barely feed 4 people.
But it's pathetic.
It's literally 4 slices.
Also featuring a recasted Peter that we don't acknowledge as a recast Peter, and we don't actually name, but we give him all Peter's lines, so he seems like he's really important. But we have no clue who he is.
We've never seen him before.
Yep, so new Peter is very bold and dramatic. Again, no idea who he is. We also have a different balcony set. When we go out to
It's not a different set. You were saying they've just lost the
green screen.
Yep.
Like, it's the same like weird kind of styrofoam looking walls. It's like, but like every single wall there is like something up. Like there's like a trellis, then there's like a weird glass window thing now, and it is literally
a little bit.
Yeah, it is literally. But it's like, but we were up here before, and there was like distance, there were streets, but also there's what's clearly potted plants that are like at like obviously on the other side of the wall, but they're supposed to look like foliage, like trees, I guess. But they're clearly like
lights.
Oh,
and I also pointed out there's also like paper lamps plugged in somewhere, and they weren't there before. Like how's the? I just it's mind bending, but the plot keeps going, and we're breaking time again. We then get some random fucking guy just going, Lisa looks hot tonight.
Who's that guy?
And we hear, with the beautiful subtitles, we hear someone going, what do you mean she looks hot? It's like, that's so fucking funny. Like, we don't concentrate on that, we go back over the disgusting food.
Oh, he doesn't even say, what do you mean she looks hot? He said, what do you mean hot?
That is so mean. What the fuck, man? Oh.
And then you have Johnny get up in the middle of this party.
Yep, this way.
And say, hey guys, I've got an announcement. We're expecting.
And everyone's like, yay.
What?
And immediately, this is too much for Michelle and new Peter. I don't know what the fuck. I think he's called Kevin and like the fucking like the credits. But this really disturbs both of them. Because at this point already, we should point out, Mark and Lisa, well, Lisa sent everyone outside to this balcony so that her and Mark can kiss on the couch at the party. And this new guy's been like, what are you doing? What is this? And it's like, who are you? And also, okay, they are being very, very bold. But as soon as Johnny has said we're expecting, Peter, quote unquote, and Michelle jump on her and are like, hey man, what's going on? And she's like, oh yeah, I'm not actually pregnant. I just told him that, which you don't get to see. I just told him that to make it interesting.
Like, what interesting?
To me, what interesting? You don't want to be with him. You keep telling
What are you doing?
keep edging everyone, being like, I'm going to break up with him. I'm going to break up with
She's
him.
like, it's not really a lie because we'll probably have a child at some point. I'm like,
You're breaking up with him in your mind.
but also like, it's not like you're like, oh, I'm pregnant now. Like, that's not a lie because I'll probably be pregnant in a few years. Like, do you know, like he's going to notice? Like, what are we doing?
No, it's nuts. But
She basically tells them, like, fine, I'll tell him.
yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Sorry. So I think a revelation I made to you last night is a big inspiration for Tommy and the final stages writing this film was the talented Mr. Ripley, right? And he, like it does because they're like the three main characters have some elements to the three main characters in that.
No. The three main characters in Talented Mr. Ripley are two men.
And one of them and the woman.
And there's a woman involved for part of the film.
Yeah.
Because Philip Seymour Hoffman, there's loads of other, like there's the two main guys.
But what I'm trying to...
But she is not conniving in any way, shape or form.
No, but Matt Damon is. Matt Damon's character is. So, and that's where the name Mark comes from, because Tommy misremembered his name. He misremembered Matt Damon's name. So he went, okay, Mark, and you can play Mark.
There's no other similarities in Talented Mr. Ripley. There's nothing. There's nothing.
The conniving stuff with Lisa is meant to be Tom Ripley's character of being conniving. But again, Tommy doesn't understand how plots work. So she does conniving things like, oh, I'm actually pregnant. But we don't see her do it. We don't see the payoff for it. We don't see the reason why.
So wait, she's meant to be Tom Ripley?
Yeah, she's meant to be the Ripley character. But then
so
also...
who's Tommy Wiseau?
But then Tommy Wiseau and Greg...
Is he meant to be Gwyneth Paltrow?
Maybe, but then also Tommy Wiseau and Greg are very clearly kind of like, you know, Tommy and, what's his name? Very much like Matt Damon and...
Jude Law.
Jude Law.
Oh,
So,
who's Jude?
It's weird. Who's Jude? So very, very strange. But that's kind of what I think he very much wrote this plot twist after seeing that and went, oh, this will be dramatic. And then
That plot twist is not in Talented Mr.
No, but
Ripley.
I mean-
Sorry, this film, man, it doesn't correlate. It doesn't.
I'm just telling you what Greg told me in the book, man. I'm just telling you. I was looking up. Greg was very insistent that there was a lot of connections to this film.
Maybe I need to watch it again, but I really am not seeing this.
It's bizarre, right? And then also featuring at this party, we have two, not one, but two fucking pathetic fight scenes between Johnny and Mark, because at this point, Lisa and Mark just stop giving a fuck. They just start full on kissing and like necking in the middle of the dance floor as they're dancing. Johnny walks
Tommy's
in.
house at Tommy's
Like after he's already
birthday.
had a bit of a fight about, hey, stop being so close to Lisa. He then just comes in again, sees that, is like, what's going on? And he's like, Greg's like, oh, maybe. Mark's like, maybe there's more things going on than you know. He's maybe I know more than you think, Mark.
This is where in The Sims you've been getting these characters to have clandestine meetings kind of all around, but the main guy still hasn't somehow actually walked in, so you've had to throw this whole party. Invite all the characters into one room, lock all the doors, like what? Delete the doors, change where the positions of the doors are so no one can leave, so that he's finally confronted with this, so you can have the final revelation.
You keep trying to have it set up, and you keep trying to have them interact and like kiss each other in front of him, but everyone just keeps wandering back down.
He keeps just walking out of the room.
So that's why you change room all the time.
Making a macaroni and cheese in the microwave, and you're like, "Can you just watch the munching, please?"
And you're trying to like move them from outside to inside so they're always there together, but they keep fucking about. And you're so right. But anyway, this then builds up to the revelation that Mark and Lisa are having an affair. It's the bear's right in front of you, Tommy, this whole fucking time. It's the script. Read it. And then he does our third rule of three. Somehow we still hit the rule of three for jokes. We get our third cheap, as Johnny calls Mark a chicken. They have a terrible fight. They have a tussle. Mark falls over again. And then Lisa's like, don't ruin the party. We're just having fun. And it's like, man, you suck. And then everyone kind of leaves. We get some then nice footage of San Francisco. I've also not pointed out, we have cut to about 40 different establishment shots during this party. This party takes up the majority of the rest of the film, and we keep jumping out thinking, oh, we're done with it now, but we keep coming back. We keep seeing like the same Disney shop in fucking San Francisco. We keep seeing the apartment outside. We see the Golden Gate Bridge again. We see a tower at night, and we're still coming back in. But eventually, Johnny's found out it's over. The party's done. It's implied that Claudette has helped Lisa clean up. Claudette, once again, leaves for the last time, gets the fuck out of the film, and then Lisa's like, Johnny, come out of the bathroom outside. She's in the bedroom, and he's like, in a few minutes, bitch. And it's like, oh, it's really fucking Jesus Christ.
Also kind of fair.
Very fair, but
He's like, who are you calling a bitch? And he's like, you and your bitch mother.
You and your stupid mother. It's like, right. And then...
What's Claudette done?
Right? Well, what's she not done? Right. She's not an arc. But what happens is we get the revelation of this recording device plotline.
But at this point...
He knows.
He's seen it, right? He's heard her talking about it to her mum. He's seen them winching, and then she has literally come upstairs and been like, I'm leaving you for Mark right now, Johnny. I'm actually going to his house right now. And then he's like, we'll see about that. Look at this tape recording. This is what you just said on the phone to Mark. She was like, I know, I'm telling you I'm going. I'm leaving.
Yeah, because that's the thing.
I'm going home.
Mark, right, so Joy's in the bathroom. She's like, come out. He's like, no. She's like, fine then. Mark, like giving up marriage.
Mark's like, what's going on? I said, what do you think's going on, man? The party just happened.
You were there, mate.
Where did you go? Why are you not still here? But anyway,
he only lives upstairs, to be fair.
Right? And he's so so you go.
So he's like, what's going on? And she's like, well, obviously this is a fucking disaster. And then like she's like, right, like I want to be with you.
And he's like, yeah, I don't like him anymore. Let's ditch this creep. And then she's like, I want your body. And he's like, sure, baby, come on up. He says it like that.
He does say it like that.
And then she does. But before she does, Johnny comes out and goes, I'm going to prove this. And then plays the tape recording.
As if he's not been
hearing it.
like,
as if he's
through
not
that
seen
door.
it. And then also, inexplicably, hilariously, the recording we hear played back is not the conversation that we just heard her say to Mark on the phone. But it's meant to be, because it's the same chat.
Lisa's meant to be, like, Lisa on this recording is saying, like, you're the absolute love of my life and a dream bubble and I love you so much. And in reality, she was just like, can I come up and fuck you? And he's like, aye.
It's so
not
funny.
the same lines.
I don't even know how she manages to like rebut this in some way, but she's like, no, this is just whatever. And he's like, well, let's see what else is on this tape. I'm like, why does it matter, man? You've caught them like 3-4 times by now. You've heard her admit the fact that she was going to have an affair, but also you put this tape in the tape recorder so long ago. How is this the first? Did you forget that you'd done that?
Again, you could forgive the actors for just really going with it. You could, oh, this is a bit silly for Johnny's character to do. You could forgive all that if he didn't write the script.
If he wasn't overdubbing his own lines. Because even at this point as well, he's like, how are you doing this? We've been together for 7 years, Lisa. And I was like, up until now it's 5. Are you telling me that the events of this film have taken place over 2 years? That's not possible.
I am telling you that.
You're also
Have
dubbing
they been getting married in a month for 2 fucking years?
It's a hanging narrative. It's like The Simpsons. It's always like the same age.
Time is not real.
And I think that's actually a deliberate thing to just show you how devastating heartbreak and a collapsing relationship is if you're inside this room. That's my take. I'm going to continue on. She leaves to go shag Mark. And this is when he destroys the room and he goes around. Clearly, this is his big breakdown moment that he really wants to be the emotional, cathartic climax of the film and whatever was going on in his life at the time. And somehow, he's not very passionate for being so impassioned.
Passionate enough to make you cry.
Well, not at this point. That happens later, right? Fuck off. That was a new thing that happened this time round. I actually got a little tear. But yeah, he trashes the room. He starts very, almost lackadaisically, like ripping the room apart. Like,
La-di-da.
La-di-da. Smashing that, like a frame falls over, gets caught on the camera, which is very funny. So it's like half hanging in front of the screen. He starts pulling the drawers out and then goes, fuck it, and tips the chest of drawers. So there's a TV at the window going, smashes a mirror.
This is the televised
rips everything apart.
realization of Tommy Wiseau going, we really didn't have enough set dressing. There's not enough for me to destroy.
Yeah, right.
I didn't put anything in this
I
fucking
guarantee
room.
you that chest of drawers was bought for that shot. And so they, like, literally just, bring that in so you can destroy something. So he tears the room apart, gets upstairs to the bedroom again, falls over, grabs the dress, the red dress symbolic of love that he gave to Lisa at the start. He smells it, and then, like, honestly, one of the most strangely, like... like disturbing and like real and not real and dreamlike sequences I've ever seen. He like proceeds to like kind of half hump the dress as he rolls about on the ground, and we get flashes of Lisa kissing him, of kissing Mark, and he's screaming, why God, why Lisa, why? He then reaches for a box which is already open, but because it's dramatic he has to close the box again and reopen it because that's important, and he pulls the gun out, and I just remember Abby's face just dropped. She was like, what is happening? He grabs his gun, and then as we're just getting flashes of Lisa going, I'll always love you, or I don't love you, and stuff like that, he puts the gun in his mouth, and then he says the infamous line, God, forgive me. And then he shoots himself.
And he dies.
And that's pretty much the end of the film.
This is what I turned around to you last night and I went, this is just a cinematic like version of someone's maladaptive daydreaming. And you went, what's a maladaptive daydream? And I was like, you know, when you are like, people would like think up scenarios that are not healthy to think about or dwell on or obsess over to provoke some kind of feeling. I was like, you know, like if you were to think like, what would happen if my fiance was cheating on me with my best friend and I found out and killed myself and then they wept over my body?
Well, because that's what happens.
That's a maladaptive daydream.
Because that's the final sequence is Lisa and Mark come in.
Yep.
Obviously had the gunshot. They see that they're saying shit like, is he dead? Is he like lying in a pool of blood? Like
With a gun in
a
his hand.
comical level of blood. And they're like, is he okay? Shit.
Wake up!
Oh no! And then Mark starts like, "You're a fucking bitch! You did this to him!" It's like, oh my god, man!
Mark.
She's like, "At least I still have you," and she's like, "You'll never have me! You'll never have me! You skank!
You took my best friend from me.
Took him from me!" And then Denny shows up and is like, "Leave us! I need to be with the body. Don't trust Denny with the body." And they don't. They start to leave, and then they
come back.
And they come back, and this is the bit that made me tear up. Like, even how much they hate each other, how much they
Jesus
don't make sense.
fucking Christ.
Even though none of this makes sense and they should all hate each other, they still bond over his body and have a little cry. And I actually got a tear last night.
I am wearied.
Holy fuck.
And we end with like some really aggressive noises of the cops and like some B-roll footage of the cops.
I can't believe that
saying
we
we're
can-
coming.
The last line of the film, he's obviously shot himself, is that you can hear an ambulance outside and you can hear a random bystander. I don't know why you can hear them because we're at the top floor of this fucking flat. Outside saying, I think I smell smoke from a gun that was inside and it was like a hand pistol.
must
Why
have
would
been a
you smell
gunshot.
smoke?
Oh, I mean, what were you going to say?
And then it ends.
You love that.
Oh, I love that we could literally put together a compilation of, I mean, not you, obviously, but of videos of us both greeting at films. I never, ever thought that The Room would make the list.
I know, neither
We've
did I.
got so many videos
That's
of
the
us
newest
crying
thing.
at films from season 1, and like,
I just got a wee
I
tear.
never, ever thought, yeah, but as small and as quick as it may have been, I still managed to get it on camera.
Well, enjoy that whenever that gets fucking used against me.
So
Yeah, that is how the film ends. And
Brilliant.
I'd like to just point out with what you were saying, I think it's a good segue into the thing I wanted to say. So you were saying it feels like a what was it?
Maladaptive daydream.
Yeah. So this is a quote of Sestero's, Greg Sestero's reaction to reading The Room. So Tommy's life study of human interactions had been put into a final draft blender and sprinkled with the darkness of whatever he'd been living through over the last 9 months. The one thing Tommy's script wasn't about, despite its character's claims, love. I had a sobering, sad and powerful realisation. Our friendship was the most human experience Tommy had had in the last few years, maybe ever. The happy news was that whatever Tommy had been running from, he managed to turn and face it down in his script. Instead of killing himself, he wrote himself out of danger. He did this by making his character Johnny the one spotless human being amid chaos, lies, and infidelity. And I think that's totally true. Like, apparently there's been a lot of shit going on in Tommy's life that he wasn't telling Greg and had been in the past. And he just kind of put it all into this script. And it is very much okay, to all the people that fucked me over, this is what it would happen. This is what it would look like if I actually did the crazy things that are in my mind.
That's pretty spotty, man.
What do you mean?
I think that's very spotless.
Spotless?
He's the one spotless character.
Yeah, right, he's not spotless at all, right? That's the thing. He's trying to make himself like this heroic figure, and I can see where he was thinking he was getting that, but because everything's so off and bizarre, it's not that, and he's...
Like, you laughed about domestic violence.
Yeah,
You're housing a sex pest.
You're enabling all these horrible people. But I do think, in terms of the catharsis that clearly came out of it in this film, like, holy shit, what a weird story to get that's what it came from as well.
Also, what a banal story.
It's like...
So are we suggesting...
not really a story.
So are we suggesting this really happened to him? Not, like, all of it, obviously, but...
I'm saying elements of it because... Yeah, when you read the book as well, The Disaster Artist, like, Tommy's jealousy towards Mark, or towards Greg comes out, because obviously Greg's he's younger, better looking, he's getting cast in a lot of smaller gigs. And then he starts to, like, there's a point where they don't talk for a while before he comes out and starts working on the script because of how overbearing Tommy was being. And this is where the talented Mr. Ripley comparisons come in. I think the Ripley comparisons are actually more directly to them as people in The Disaster Artist as it really is with The Room.
Okay, I'm gonna have to read into that.
It's very strange, but parts of this is semi-autobiographical. That's the big revelation. The Room is semi-autobiographical.
You know,
fuck me, right?
The noughties, early noughties at least, people were just going wild. They were really letting the intrusive thoughts win, man. Evanescence was in the charts. Everyone was just
they were just going for it.
Really,
everyone was really struggling.
And telling everyone about it.
Yeah, so like,
can I ask who we think our rogue should be?
That's a good question.
We were talking about it last night.
Should we go through all the options?
I mean,
Denny?
I don't know, because I just think, yes, Claudette mentioned she's got breast cancer and that Tommy should have to pay for her house and never mention it again. Yes, Mike is, ridiculous and his face never stops moving. Yes, Denny is a 35-year-old, 18-year-old boy. But really, Tommy is a fucking rogue. If you do not award the Rogues Gallery position to Tommy Wiseau, the most roguish man I think I've ever come across in my entire life, it would be absolutely ridiculous. I know it's not usually
how we do it,
but like...
Is that what you're going for?
So
that's what I'm going for.
A character.
Aye.
The film is Tommy Wiseau. The film is rogue. We cannot do an episode of The Room.
We cannot have direct, star, produce, write, fucking
fuck up
everything in this film, and it's all him.
Yeah,
like you can be like, oh, this character's roguish, because he came up with it. So
no, I agree. I think Tommy Wiseau being the rogue for this,
and not Johnny. Tommy Wiseau.
There he is.
There he is.
There he is. No, look, as I say, that story of how it's made, there's some darkness to it as well, but there's also like obviously the Disaster Artist comes out 10 years afterwards, right? So 10 years ago, the Disaster Artist comes out. The book's very successful, very popular. They start doing a lot of touring with it. I think that's when I met them, because it was 2014 I met them, so it must have been on the backs of that. And then what you get is then the film comes out, the film wins Golden Globes, makes a lot of money, the film of The Disaster Artist, about the making of, and then Tommy gets a bit more recognition because he talks about as well how things change, like how it used to be just laughed at, right? Just laughed at, kind of ridiculed in a kind of mean-spirited way. Greg talks about this. Some of the earlier screens used to be quite mean-spirited, but then as it kept going, people kept embracing it, and then they started laughing with the film, which is, I think, what we do, because you do laugh at it, but then it takes you along with it because it's so uncanny, it's so off-kilter, but still relatable things in a sense of other projects that you've seen, or like it feels like a play that isn't a play. I don't know. I think that, and then with Tommy eventually getting to give a little speech of, hey guys, almost like 15 years after making, he's like, hey guys, I just want you all to know, if you want to make a movie and that's your dream, you can do it. I'm proof that I can do it.
That's great.
So let's do it. And I think that's amazing.
I love that.
And what it is it is the pinnacle of sorry I don't, but sorry I do, because it's ridiculous, terrible, kind of amazing.
Sort of earnest.
So earnest. And
Yeah.
you're right?
The way that people enjoy it as well is so how I like to rate things, because it's not like enjoyed on a basis of being a good film. But I don't think I'd rate films in that way. I don't think I'm like, oh, this film is really kind of quality made and like, a lot of money went into it and these people are really good actors, so enjoy it. I'll give something a 10 if I, felt nice during it, basically.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about The Room, and that's how a lot of people seem to feel about The Room as well.
Yeah, it's such... I can't... There's very few films that I can compare it to in terms of...
There is nothing compatible.
Like, there's a reason they call it the Citizen Kane of bad movies. And I think that's a bit cruel, because a bad movie in my mind is something I don't really ever want to watch again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Like a boring movie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to watch Now You See Me ever again.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, Now You See Me? Go fuck yourself. You're shit. The Room is better than you. And so for that reason, I can't give it a 1 out of 10, because like there is a lot of in this fucking film that is a 1 out of 10 and so wrong-minded, but it's all so flows together so well. It kind of goes beyond the conventions of filmmaking and just reinvents itself. And for me, it's, as Greg said, one of the most casually surreal experiences. It's endlessly enjoyable. The more you watch it, the more you see like these implied narratives of things connecting together that don't quite make sense, but then they do. And you brought new things to it. Every time I show people it, they bring me something new with it. So for me, this is one of my rare films that I'm very proud, after years of deliberating, to give it a 10 out of 10. Like, I unironically love this movie. I put this movie in my top 10 list or top 15 films alongside things like Return of the King, fucking Vertigo, Twin Peaks, The Wire, Sopranos, and The Room. Apocalypse Now, The Room. Mulholland Drive, The Room. The Devils, Edgy Darkfield, The Room. All these other...
Claude and I have each given 3 films of 10 on this first season of Sorry I Don't.
That shows you your different ways, as Claude was saying, the different ways that you approach films. You will give films these ratings that are fun and silly. I'm much more of like kind of a wanker at points. I'm like, because none of my films are 10 out of 10s that are in this podcast, because they're all too serious. They're all so dramatic, and apart from The Room.
Are you saying that The Room is not silly?
This is
dramatic?
This is your only 10
This is your only
of this
10?
season.
of this season?
Which I think is amazing.
Well,
That's amazing. I'm so glad that you gave it a 10.
I'm glad we got a 10 for you as well, man.
Yeah.
You were really lingering there with your 6s and your 7s.
I know. I'm very comfortable in the 6 and 7 territory. Oh, no. Most of cinema is very comfortable in the 6 and 7 territory, apparently. A lot of your favourite films are in the 6 and 7. No, I'm joking. That's a joke. I love
I was
you.
just going to say.
No, please, Abby, bring me back down to earth. Shatter me with what you would rate this film.
I actually really enjoyed it. However, I think you need to watch this quite a few times to really like adore it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I've only seen it once. But I loved watching it with you guys. I think in the same way that you're like a bad movie, like a 1 would be something I never want to see again. Thanks again. Now You See Me. That sentence had far too many of the same words in it. But in the
Just
same,
like Now You See Me had too many minutes in it.
in the same vein as like, I agree, that's also what I would rate a bad film, is like a boring one I don't want to see again. I do want to see this again, but it's not for me in the same way that it is for you.
Yeah, of course.
One that I want to just like keep watching, keep watching.
I wouldn't believe you. I wouldn't believe you if you did say, "Oh, this is." Yeah, I'd be like,
yeah. Like, here's the thing: is like, this is not, The Lost Boys or Enchanted.
we need to do that on the podcast.
That's a 10 for me. But like, I can see myself getting to that point with it. So for right now, I give it a 7.
That's what I thought you would give it. That's a very good rating. It's fucking bizarre. Or 7 for the room. I love it. What have I done to you?
So I think one of my favourite things to do in general, as shown in this podcast, is watch really funny things with my pals. It's my favourite thing to do. Get a wee bit steaming, sit and chat and watch things together. It's one of my favourite pastimes, and whenever I think about good memories with my pals, it usually involves that. So, and I've had this experience with multiple friend groups and stuff like that, and now I've had it with you, and it's been very lovely. It always puts it up in my estimations, and with that, I don't know.
I was like, where's she going with this?
It's just not rateable, man. Because I can't give it a 10 because it's not, and I can't give it a 1 because I love it
And also
so
a
much.
5 seems
And I can't give it a 5 because I gave like Titanic like a 4 or 5, and I don't feel the same way about this as I feel about Titanic. It is completely unrateable.
Also, a 5 suggests neutral. And how can you feel neutral
I don't
towards the
feel
room?
neutral about it.
That's what I mean.
But I don't hate it. But I don't like think it's amazing, as in a really, really good film. But I really enjoy it. I'll give it a question mark.
Okay. No, man. Honestly, that's what.
I love you, but that's so annoying for all the mathematical things I want to do with this.
So
like average ratings and stuff.
God. Right, so yeah, I agree completely, because I had such a hard time rating this. I gave it a 1 out of 10 when I first ever saw it, but still loved it. That kept changing, and because you can't place it anywhere on the scale, so I just kind of had to go with, well, how do I feel? Because this film is so out there compared to anything else and how you would rate a film normally. I just had to give it a 10, and I love it so much. I get something new every time.
I'm glad you did.
I cried at it this time. What the fuck is that about?
So, thank you so much for watching the first season of the Sorry I Don't podcast.
Yes, thank you for dealing with our rambles, my shit jokes sometimes, my losing of the plot, literally the plot, and also my own mentality. Thank you for joining in with us for the room as well. I hope you all find your own little room to enjoy everything with.
We hope that you enjoyed it as much as we have enjoyed making it together. And now
apart from the lost episode.
Yes, apart from the lost episode. What are we talking about? And now,
spoilies.
I think we're gonna all go home.
We're gonna go back to our room.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, right, guys, last thing I forgot to say, and it's actually really fucking important about this. So, the room, obviously, a lot of unused material. Tommy was writing it, changing it as he went, getting influence as he went. I think he must have watched one of the films that was on our list. I think he maybe watched The Lost Boys, because his final idea, his final shot sequence, was that Tommy was going to reappear flying off into the sunset, or the moonset, I guess, as a vampire in a car. That was going to be the big revelation, that Tommy Wiseau, Johnny, was a vampire all along. So that ties him to Twilight, that ties him to The Lost Boys. He's the actual master vampire of Santa Clara, what the fuck? Carla, and he's the one behind it all this time. Guys, what do we think about that revelation?
Are we done? Can
we go home?
Well, yeah. Shout out to the podcast studio, Glasgow, for hosting us, and
shout out to his family.
Shout out to his family. Well, I didn't get to say that either.
Literally 11:15, man.
So, all right. So no big bang, no big. Oh wow, what an amazing man.
Goodbye.
Bye, guys.
4 times.
Bye. Let's go.
See you in season 2.
Sorry, I don't.
Sorry, we did.